just tell me that we're not online on the Aero YouTube channel.
That would be
That
very
I clicked
embarrassing.
No, I'm not sleeping. I'm not
Nice.
sleeping. I'm not sleeping. Okay, guys. So I would say, are we online? It's like happening. Are we here?
Yes.
Okay, well, hello, guys. Welcome to the fourth week of the AQZ Championship Series Season 2, sponsored by Man of Games. My name is Paandyandy, and today I'm so lucky that I will not be today alone, because with me there would be Kelonguy, Freeloader, and Runefolk. So nice that you are being here, guys, on another week here on the cast. So how are you doing? How hot is it? How hot is it in your area?
It's cooling down today, thank goodness. I was not surviving. I'm still struggling, but it's a lot more reasonable now.
Yeah.
But it's very hot inside still.
Yeah, it really is still a bit too warm for me as well, but we'll manage, we will survive.
Okay.
Experience. It's cooled down outside, but I feel like inside it's still
That's
so
crazy.
warm. But yeah,
It's like super
yeah.
crazy because yesterday we had like, I would say it's not getting hotter here in Dresden, but we had like 38 degrees until like I don't know, until like 10 like p.m. in the evening. Yeah, you know. And then I think like the coldest time during the night was like 28 degrees, and now in the morning it's starting to getting cooler. It's super crazy. So hey guys, I'm super thankful for everyone who's going to be joined in the stream as well, actually playing, because I quite could understood that actually you want to enjoy like the weather outside. I mean, I'm still prefer to stay inside. But,
yeah, well,
hey,
I mean,
yeah.
when the weather's this hot, I like avoiding the sun. But as far as things that are staying very hot are concerned, this is week 4 then of the AQZ Championship Series. Week 2. Last week, I think, was particularly exciting. We had not only a Traced and a Sigismar with 5-0 finishes, but we
Yeah.
also had an undefeated player who we've never seen before, which was really exciting. They said in chat that it was their first time playing online, so
that's cool.
that was also really exciting. And I think this week should also be a really good one. There's a lot of familiar characters showing up and registering last minute now as well. But yeah, good player count overall. Mid-90s, can't complain. And yeah, I believe the event should be starting momentarily.
Yeah. And so, because I didn't say that, so for today in the cast will be Kelonguy with Freeloader, and in the kitchen today will be Runefolk and me, Paandyandy. So I hope you're being happy with how we came to the solution to do that for today. And as you say, the tournament actually started, and I would say, yeah, it's going to be the first round started. So just tell me which table you want to join in. Also, guys, for today we're going back with our deck tracker. So thanks to Runefolk that he's going to manage all the deck lists and also the card drawing. So all back to the old way. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much because we can join in the first round. So tell me, guys, which table do you want to see?
Freeloader, it's up to you.
It's up to me? Oh,
Yup.
no. Alright, let's jump into table. Let's go on... Goddamn, I know all these names. I'm trying to find names I don't recognize. Let's go to table 21.
Table
Nice.
21.
Watch a little bit choking on vape.
Okay, so have fun, guys.
All right, so I've gotten word as well. I don't know if any of you were watching Altered commentary yesterday, but there was something going on with Board Game Arena where the players were reversed on the scoreboard in comparison to what they looked like on the Tumult. But we messaged Vincent about it on the main server, the main guy who's dealing with stuff related to BGA for Altered, and he confirmed earlier that it should be fixed. So thanks to them for fixing things quickly, because that was a confusing experience.
Yeah, that was wrecking my mind yesterday on the NUC cast. I was constantly rooting for the wrong person and all that.
Yep.
But yeah. We do manage to get into the game, I think, maybe with a final refresh. There we go.
Yes, and I can confirm it is correct. That is very good. All right.
Very nice. We have a Kesha against a Fen for our first game. And with these names, we've got to be rooting for Fen, surely, right?
Yeah, Amkareth versus Choking on Vape. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always excited to see some Akesha gameplay though as well. It really depends on what they're playing themselves. I think certain builds of Akesha are super interesting and exciting, but same can be said for Fen. I don't know. I'm pretty ambivalent. I think I'm happy if either of these typical spellcaster heroes take a win. I'm happy with it.
That is true. I think Akesha especially still has a lot of untapped potential. We saw, I'm not sure in what cast we saw this, but there were some like mid-rangey Akesha decks going around, and I really like the idea of those.
Ooh, Mighty Djinn coming out from Fen now. That one I think is a little bit less common. I think we see it more often in decks like Aurak, but occasionally it can be super good in Fen as long as you have enough card advantage to make up for the fact that you're throwing that into mana, oftentimes the same day that you're playing it out. Speaking of card advantage, Conjuring Seal for the Akesha, I like that for them.
Yeah, this is looking like the demo deck Akesha tournament, where it was just Akesha drawing a bunch of cards and everyone else being sad about it. But man, Mighty Djinn, when you get it early like this in Fen, it can be really good. Just Fen having so many resources, especially early in the game, it can really snowball out of control quickly if they get to ramp with that.
Just quick little housekeeping. I know it says Bravo/Kojo in the top right of the screen, but I believe that should be the Akesha, and then on the other side it should actually be the Fens. Sorry to confuse all you there, just a little glitch in the matrix, but that is a-okay. We're gonna see though, I think things are gonna be really important over the next day or two to see what Fen's gameplay strategy is really going to be. I think they need to get something going relatively quickly though, because otherwise I think just the sheer card advantage from Akesha is going to be a massive advantage for them. Of course, it's nice having that extra mana for the Fen, but I think they're going to need something of their own that can start popping off, whether that's like a magical training loop or whether that's showing like a potential alternate win condition. Who knows?
Yeah, though it is also worth mentioning that this point in the game is often where Akesha's hero ability is the strongest in the game. It's just, as the game goes on, this one after you effect means less and less, but early in the game and in the mid game still, you can get a ton of value out of it. But they are getting pinched a bit on the cards in their reserve. I can't imagine they want to play this Conjuring Seal, and their other card, the Magical Training, has just been exhausted. That will mean they are overflowing their reserve, so maybe not quite as much card advantage as it initially seemed here.
Yeah, we'll see. I like the fact here that the Akesha gets to use this after you. It's going to make it hard for Fen, while they don't have magical training coming out, to actually get that ideal play style that Fen likes to go for, of just waiting until after the opponent to make all the decisions. But, still, it's nice for the Fen having additional threats, things like the Snowball Commando that can potentially contest, does something relevant with the Exhaust, for example, and then also is cheap enough to force out plays.
It really is demo deck Akesha. Conjuring Seal from hand, Conjuring Seal from reserve. Just chilling with 7 cards in hand. No worries here. Does give up the double advance as a consequence of that, which is pretty important. Fen is quite close here to closing out the game already. Only 3 more advancements needed. And with a mana advantage as well, it is going to be difficult for Akesha to stop this.
Yeah, I am starting to worry a little bit, because even if this is one of these late game Akesha strategies, like built something around like the Kata for example, like trying to play a Celebration Day for free, we're suddenly at the point where a Cloth Cocoon at the wrong time could just completely end the game on its own, essentially. So that's a little bit worrying there. It's still nice for the Akesha that, okay, finally Fen did find the magical training. I was going to say it's nice for the Akesha that Fen hasn't found that yet, because that is going to be the thing that lets Fen take additional free progressions, really, if they're able to after you while still generating card advantage. That's really nice. Will-O-the-Wisp is playing fantastically onto that hero side at the moment, and I think that on its own is likely going to beg removal here, but, oh, it's a unique instead.
Yeah, unique. It does have the normal common Nyala effect, so just exchanging a card from hand with reserve. Not the most flashy unique, but getting this effect a little bit cheaper is certainly nice. Also, the way it's played, Akesha still has the flexibility of being able to contest either Expedition in this situation. And ooh, interesting player by Fen. Gets their utility card exhausted with the Haffer, and then says, hey, that's okay. I'm just going to discard all of the cards in my reserve to draw a couple more cards, making sure they're not running out of steam and almost guaranteed to still get a progression this round, or this day.
What do you think, Freeloader? Are we calling this the Elwiwi Amale?
It has to be, right? Elwiwi popularized this. I think first time Elwiwi whipped it out, so to speak, was on a NUC run, and they just went undefeated while running an Amale pile. And I think after that, you kind of gotta give it to Elwiwi, right? It has to be the Elwiwi Amale.
I think it's a little bit like the Weeelcooome Jammer of old in those trace decks.
Yep.
Mala is a really sweet tool. It's really hard to find rare slots for it, but sometimes it can be super effective. I'd say, yeah, it can be good even in that no unique championship, but where it's really good is in these situations where you are playing with uniques as well, especially ones that have a way of filling up your reserve. Just getting, cashing in for a ton of cards, super nice. It's a good way of digging for exactly what you need. Fen now finding a single progression, trades with the Akesha there. Main worry that I'm having for Fen is if they're not able to find a double advance to win the game this day, they are potentially starting to get to the point where celebration days could potentially come out from the Akesha, if that is something they're playing. Although we do have the deck list up on screen, I'm checking now, it doesn't look like there's any of that going on. Oh boy.
Yeah, no hostage Akesha here, but even still, there are a ton of cards for Akesha to work with, but the issue is that there's a ton of cards for Fen to work with as well. Fen does have a bit of an awkward reserve, so maybe that will come and bite them, but it's going to be difficult. It will certainly be difficult here. There's going to be another free after you for Akesha here, so they will get good information before needing to commit to any kind of decision. But I don't know, it's tough. They have a lot of things to answer here, a lot of things to be wary. But yeah, these Amales from reserve aren't going to be coming out this turn as they are too expensive, and this might be a resource pricey turn for Fen.
Runefolk mentioning there in chat, are we in Blitz or why are the players so fast? And yeah, it's true. Actually, the pace of this game has been really quick so far. And I am wondering a little bit, maybe players who have played AQZ Blitz a couple times are starting to play a lot faster. Which, it's a nice thing, but in certain situations here, it's going to be a lot of value to think through all of the plays, especially in a matchup like this one, where both decks can play so controlly. It's going to be really important to get those correct decisions, especially here in these moments where a single progression could mean the difference between potentially stalling out and developing your game plan further, for the Akesha at least, or just dying immediately to all these characters out of the Fen.
Yeah, and there's just so many unknowns to deal with as well, so it can be tricky to figure out the puzzle, but still possible. And when that is the situation, thinking about it can certainly help. But, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of players, I remember in Blitz even, a lot of players just take their time on turns where there honestly isn't too much to think about often, especially not on like day 1 or day 2. And saving that time can give you time later to think about a crucial position, so definitely worth doing.
Yeah, that's always how I like to operate personally as well. Really just banking time for critical days, playing really fast on the days where I'm really familiar with the dynamics, and then just sitting there and really tanking and working through the line on those really important days, because, certain days of in a game of Altered just don't matter as much, honestly. Or at least that's the vibe I typically get. But
Yeah.
It really looks like Fen here is well and truly just stacking all of their eggs onto that companion side basket. Baku getting slept down definitely guarantees, I would say, that they will get that companion side progression. But nice thing for Akesha, at least, is that they are not dead. They can ideally spend 2 more mana here in some way that'll give them a little bit of an advantage. And yeah, to pacify, they will take a progression of their own, but definitely liking Fen's posture at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, notably, without that sleep, that Pacify would have locked up the companion side there and prevented Fen from advancing. So really mindful there by Fen to sleep that Baku. Good play. Only 1 expedition away now, and they get to return their sleeping unique to hand. So they have a lot of tools to make it happen here. It can be really tough for Akesha to stop this.
Yeah, it really is. I think the fact that if they had wanted it, they would have had access to the exhaust effect from Snowball Commando, and they said, we don't even need that. Cost reduction here from Ouroboros Inkcaster is going to mean that Fen is operating at 2 or more mana advantage this day. Hathor as well, threatening to be able to pick up something relevant. Just the after you potential here is massive, but okay, actually cashes in on the Hathor immediately and picks up that Ouroboros Inkcaster yet again. Gets played onto the hero side here, so it looks like that's probably going to be the side that Fen's trying to win on this day. But yeah, I feel like that is almost maybe a sign of weakness. Like something really crucial for them could have been another copy of Magical Training at that point, which really would have let them just wait and wait and wait for Akesha to have to make all of those decisions before committing anything to the board.
Yeah, and here this Evanescence coming out is actually really nice into the Ouroboros Inkcaster. It does return the Acapella Training to hand, which can be 2/1 cost after you effects, which can certainly end up being very relevant, but exhausting the Ouroboros Inkcaster will deny the discount effect, and as I say that, it immediately gets picked up again by a sleight of hand and replaces it with a unexhausted discard effect for cost reduction. So yeah, as you were mentioning earlier, there will be a lot of cards played for Fen this turn. I think they have 1 or 2 1-cost cards left in hand as well as a discount ability.
I really love seeing the innovation there of the common sleight of hand. It's so unpopular in comparison to the rare, largely just because of the interaction with Magical Training specifically. There's some other fringe benefit of the rare, but it's mostly related to spell looping off of the Magical Training. This one just loops characters, but sometimes it's also really good still. I think for Fen in general, it's just a faction where putting a card into your reserve from your hand is often just a benefit. It's not even a downside, really.
Yeah, if you aren't running out of resources, then you can do so much with characters in reserve as a Fen player. Man, these removal effects just keep coming out. They keep exhausting these discount effects that Fen would love to use. Nonetheless, here, still a return happening from Ouroboros Inkcaster, and no mana left for Akesha does mean that this unique we saw earlier will put something to sleep, and with its 1/1/1 stat line be enough to advance. That looked near unstoppable on the final turn for Fen.
Yeah, it's a super sweet Martingale unique as well, both sleeping a character with that arrow effect and potentially looping cards with the when played from hand effect. Oh, what a strong one. Love it. And yeah, taking an impressive win, I would say. Cool build of Fen. I haven't quite seen the rest of it thus far, but yeah, it's definitely a sweet pick.
Yeah, cool. I wonder if the kitchen has anything to report on us for these decks.
Super cool decks. As you already said, and oh yeah, we got actually deck list, so hold on guys. Kitchen needs to clean a little bit. Okay, we got to beat King. I mean, this was like a super amazing game that we saw here right now. I'm always love to see, first of all, Fen being in action. I mean, got like quite popular in set 3 usually, but also to see like a little bit more of Akesha, because this is like what I most love, like, and I always remember like the quote of like that Fen or like Naranka or sometimes like Lyra somehow being managed to, I think, like being like the little sisters of Athanas. But then afterwards to see here actually Akesha being in action, and for me it's something special to see this Akesha in action, because actually when I'm seeing Akesha is going to be into play, and that's I can directly quote because Runefall here is next to me, it's only when I'm seeing like a hostage deck actually. But as we can see here, it was one of more like an actually just like a normal Izmir, I play spells, I play cards, I remove something list, right? Or I'm wrong?
I'd say this list was probably... It wasn't a full discard Akesha list, I feel like.
Yeah.
There are some more cards, but this was after all a hunger list, and probably oftentimes... Or at the beginning of the set, I've oftentimes seen players try to go for full discard lists with a bunch of sabotage, with a bunch of rare Bakus to discard as many cards from a hand, and also at the end the hungers to discard everything on the board for each player. So yeah, this is an interesting list. Didn't work out this time, and especially Hungers. It feels so hard to play Hungers when you're behind.
Yeah, that's true. Totally agreeing on that. I mean, to see like Hunger in general, and it's kind of getting like completely catching you off guard, right? If you're playing it, and then you're being like, oh my goodness, what's happening right now? Didn't work out well that game. I mean, there was like a good time for Akisha, like with always returning, removing the cards back, especially when we just like go into the like, I would say like in the last turn, as we can saw like the Ouroboros Incaster got removed and exhausted, and then the Will-O-Wisp got exhausted as well. And then it was like, okay, all those card reductions are just like not working, and sometimes it's actually hitting really, really hard, because Fan always just like try to work also around with this reducing of like the card in place. As we can see at the end, the Martin Gate just like took the game with just like one simple sleep effect as well. I'm super amazed also to see Akisha, because I feel like in the fact that like Afanas is like being quite more I forgot the name. I forgot the word. I'm sorry. Stronger, yeah, he's stronger, more popular to play.
Yeah.
Now I got it. Just like when it like come to competitive, I feel like more often of the reason is like that you have like more uniques that's going to be variable, like Afanas' ability to just like return cards. I mean, there's like in general there are like always return cards, but especially when it comes like to cards that going to be like on super cheap cost in general, or just like in card cost that doing like those at dusk effects and then being to be angered. I mean, I look at you Spindler Harvester. It's getting like so much more out profit when you play Afanas. So I feel like that's like one of the reasons that we don't see quite that many Akishas. But for us, a super interesting game. And if there's like not any questions, I'm finished with that. So, Kars, do you have any questions? Any questions?
Less of a question. I just wanted to sort of note how good the Amala tech is actually against playing the Hunger specifically.
Yeah.
Especially if you're expecting it. You can really time your setup with Fen to really cash in on your reserve bank that you build up over time, so that you have a full stocked hand of cards at the point at which your opponent gets to Hunger mana, and then would theoretically have the ability to play it. I think that's a really nice way of teching around that potential threat with the Hunger. And the other thing that I noticed as well is that it being a 5 mana cost character, it was just so difficult for the Akesha to deal with. I mean, you always assume that your Izmir players are playing Off You Go, and typically at this point some number of Evanescence as well.
Yeah.
And those just can't hit Amale, which is really nice. Of course, this list does have access to Blizzard and Freeze that can theoretically get rid of it, but on its own, it's going to easily threaten to take Expedition progressions.
So this card on its own is... You mentioned there are a limited amount of removals for this card, and also there are a very limited amount of characters that want to play into this for the Akesha. Like, I think there are almost no characters that have like spiking stats that can outstat this. So all of your characters you play are even costed. So you have like the Alchemist, that's a 3/3. I think it's not in this list, but the passive phase aren't looking too good into an Amail. Then you also have Moth Breeders that are also even stats, so it's really hard to trade over an Amail, but you can get options to go even into it, but yeah, it's still also just hard to contest on characters.
Bring on that.
Yeah, exactly. As Cole says, good old Mouth Breather. Mouth Breather being one of my favorite new Izmir cards from the most recent set, the Izmir Moth Breeder, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really sweet one. I wonder if it will find its way more into Akesha lists like this one. I think this one really reminded me of something that a couple people were trying to do even in previous sets. I think Rune was touching on it with like the mass discard Akesha, but I think even more this is just trying to be like mid-range Akesha, like really maximizing the after you potential of just outstatting characters just sort of randomly, being able to pick and choose the best spots. Like notably rare Katagiran Alchemist, you see that card so rarely. It's just 4/4/4 for 3 in stat for 3 cost. And that can be one of the easiest ways to go over virtually anything that any other deck plays at a similar cost, I would say. So yeah, definitely some interesting techs there. It's just really hard to make that work, especially against a fan, I would say.
yeah, feeling pretty good at just after hearing. Yeah, that's pretty hard. But Alchemist is still probably one of the best cards in the early game, just to go 1-for-1 or block out. But yeah, the later on the game goes, the harder it is to just play that 3-cost character.
Indeed.
Thank you on that. So I would say with that, hey guys, if you have like any questions in chat, you're always like free to ask. I mean, the first one was like, is the game come to Steam? And Axiom, it doesn't need to come to Steam actually, because you can play the entire game for free on Board Games Arena. I mean, the only condition that you need to do is like creating an account. You can also try out our starter decks for free as well on Board Games Arena. There are still like only with cards from set 1, so there are like some cards going to be missing. I'm not sure if like for set 4 there will become new starter decks or like maybe like an updated version of those decks. But yeah, you can just like join in and joining it, and also just like watching the stream, and then you can join it as well. And talking about enjoying some other games, there are like still some tables left, so if you want we can join another table to just like look into the first round.
My next question would have been,
Yeah?
do we have any plans for the weekend?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't have any. Nah, just kidding. So, guys, if you're being here, the actual plan for the weekend is that we're going to cast the World Championships qualifier from Liiike here on the channel. All people that you can see here right now will be joining in. It would be like the Saturday and the Sunday. We're starting on Saturday at 9 AM with me and Keelan, and then throughout the day you will have like a lot of people joining in as well. Cole will be joining in, that's going to be here in the chat. Drews will be chilling in. Oh, that was actually good for me. Drews will be also joining in as well. And yeah, so 2 whole days for the World Qualifiers, because the main host or main cast from Equinox itself will be in French. So we've decided to do one in English, and this would be a super cool time. I'm super amazed by that. Actually, it's also going to be super hot anyway outside, so I'm double happy that I can enjoy my whole day inside my cool building.
Yeah, it's going to be a super sweet weekend. Definitely recommend showing up to watch that. I think it's probably going to be the most hyped World Championship qualifier outside of maybe actually the Board Game Arena qualifiers, which were also recently announced. I have a feeling we may or may not be broadcasting some of those as well, but this one, I think with most of the player base who's very competitive being focused in and around France, I have a feeling this is going to be a really exciting one. There's 4 slots up for grabs for the World Championship itself, so anyone who makes it to the semifinals will be getting that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can follow the entire thing along with us here. And if you're not really familiar about it, we're going to be doing a little pre-show right before the start of the event itself, so we can talk a little bit about it. We can talk a little bit about the metagame and what we're expecting, and what we saw from the past weekend as well with the qualifier that went on in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it was like super crazy, the qualifiers. I mean, at the end, I was like always like when like the set started that maybe like Orphanus and Sigisma is going to be kicked out of the throne, but we got proved otherwise for the top list. So let's see how it will be in Liiike. I feel like in Liiike this would be not quite the same top deck, because I feel like if you're going like to be, I mean, it's like a super biased opinion, right? But I feel like if you're going to be outside of France, there's like a high chance that actually players still don't have like all their cards like in real life, right? So I feel like maybe that was the reason, because I feel like there would be like more polite deck. Can I say that? Because actually the people will maybe have their cards that they actually want to play in their deck. I have the feeling. I cannot prove it, guys, but I have the feeling. For that, because I knew, for my example, I knew like some people that said they will drive to this tournament, but still gotten like their PRD order received. So they needed to play like some other cards, and so like the decks that they played were like not well finished. So yeah. I mean, Wesh, you need to advertise. The only solution for that. But I can quite understand. I mean, I mean.
You know what? That's okay, because qualitatively, our 28 viewers that we currently have are the best of the entire community,
Yeah,
so I'm not
that's
very
true.
bothered.
Yeah, it's like
When the quantity is not very high, the quality always is. Like
Yeah.
everyone who's hanging out in the chat at the moment, we're just waiting on a couple of the remaining matches to wind down. It's mostly out of time for at least one of the players in most of these matches. So we are starting to get to the point where players need to think about, oh no, am I going to lose the game to time if I keep playing slowly?
Yeah, agreeing on that. I mean, oh, he's playing a new... Okay. Okay, he's playing a new unique. Overloss, for those who don't know, is being one of my locals players and one of the most dedicated Go players out by far. Okay, and he just like told me you can jump. I was just like using the overtime. Okay, then we're going to another table. I mean, it's also always like wish because I'm being like honest, and we just like go to another table. Watching it during the time will be table 10. And let's see. Oh, we're seeing a coach and a t-shirt again. Not with a mass anchoring unique. That is interesting. Oh, super. Oh,
Do you have any feeling yet, Paandy, thus far, what decks are going to 5-0 today?
oh, whew, that's like a super interesting. Super interesting question. I feel like that we will see at least one Athanas being 5-0. Seeing one Sigisma 5-0 and seeing one Athanas 5-0.
You know, that's actually a
and seeing
really
one
daring
Sigisma 5-0.
prediction.
And you know what? I have a special take. Maybe we're seeing one Sigisma and Athanas as well 5-0.
Well, I'm going to say that's a very daring prediction because so far, actually, AQZ Championships have not really gone that way.
Yeah.
Like last week, having the Traced and Kojo, like there was a single Sigismar, but the population of Athanas and Sigismar was nowhere near what I think you'd expect given how the metagame sort of looks in certain cases, but you never know. Traced's still incredibly strong with certain builds of it. And then last night, for example, in AWOL Wednesday, I believe it was a Lindaway that had an undefeated finish, so you never know.
No, actually, if I'm being honest, it's like someone, I think, I'm saying someone, it was, I think like Rune, shared some data with us from all HC tournaments in general. And if I remember correct, the answer was that actually, and Ilio is playing on HC Championship Series. Oh man, the chances are high I'm going to be invited to one of his cool YouTube formats. Elio, if you want to continue playing. No, just kidding, guys. Actually, that if you compare it like to other tournaments, then actually the results, for example, from for like Athanas, is going to be like smaller to like the chances it's going to be finished 5-0 or like 4-1 than on other tournaments. So I cannot just like directly say
For the exact stats on that,
thank you.
in the AWOL tournaments, Afana so far has a 58% win rate, and in our AQZ events so far overall, Afana's only has a 53% win rate, so a drop of 5%, while almost having same play rate on 11 to 10%. So it's that might also be due to the blitz format, since we do have that once a week, and that's actually more rounds, I believe, than the actual AQZ championship so far. And that might also just be a case for that.
But whenever stats are mentioned, I always have to say they're completely irrelevant. It wouldn't be a cast with me in it, or where when statistics are mentioned, I say that we have no statistical significance for any of this. So do not extrapolate this to necessarily mean anything. It's just, interesting numbers to note sometimes.
Yes. But I mean, it's like 53%. It's like super high for a deck. we need to call that out. But yeah, so this is like super cool. And yeah, Nerf Beauty Sleep. I mean, it worked out, so it's going to be a win. And I also felt like it was like the last. Was it like the last round or like the last match for the first round? Let's see, let's find it out. And
I do believe Overloss is still in game, so
he's still in game. Okay, we need to be we need to check out what's happening here. So yeah, okay, it's going to be on a closer run, and he actually, yeah, he just like timed it out, so going to be
No,
maximum
honestly,
time.
it was more of La True Hell timing themselves out here. Almost
Yeah,
5 minutes on their clock.
So let's go into round 2. So for you all again who joined in as well, we're going to be on the AQZ Championship Series Season 2, sponsored by Man of Games into Week 4. With me in will be Runefolk, Kelonguy, Freeloader, as well myself, Paandyandy included. And if you feel like, hey, those 4 faces, or like, maybe, oh, you're seeing only my faces, but those 4 voices are super cool to listening, then also be prepared for Saturday morning at 9 AM when we're going to cast the Liiike World Championship qualifiers in English, because the official cast for Equinox himself will only be in French. So if you don't speak any French or prefer to listen in English, then we're always happy to be here in the stream or to see you. I'm being super excited, and talking about excitement, I will be super excited to see which table we're going to watch now for round 2.
It is your turn now, Kelonguy.
Yeah,
Where do
have
you
to-
want
we
to
have to-
go?
We have to curse Elio, right? We have to curse Elio.
Of course.
Where he is.
That's table 9. Let's go.
Table 9. All right. Oh, what game arena? What's
Yeah.
happening? Oh.
It looks like one of the players is just still waiting to connect. Notably, by the way, yesterday on AWOL, we did see, at least like very clearly, one of the first times where a player, not just at like negative 2 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever, when people typically get kicked from the game, someone got a loss while having 30 seconds left on their timer, which was a little bit absurd. It was like very close to the end of the game as well, so they might have been playing it perfectly within their time limit. So notably, yeah, you got to be a little bit careful, especially if your game starts a little bit late into the round, I would say, because then you are at risk of having that potentially happen. It's really unfortunate if it does, but the only way to prevent it is just playing quickly.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why some of these players are starting to speed it up a little bit as well.
No, it's true. It's definitely worthwhile. You don't want to be in those positions where you've gotten to your last few seconds, you're min-maxing it, and then suddenly Board Game Arena says, nope, we're done with you. But yeah, it happens sometimes. It's limitations of the platform. We love Board Game Arena, but it's not always built for having competitive TCG events. So we're doing what we can. But yeah, best recommendation there, just play faster. But yeah, this one should be super exciting. We do have Elio playing Aurak, facing down Rico Fenwick's Sigismar.
Yeah, and I got to wonder if Elio, he made a bit of a YouTube video about Aurak, and I wonder if he's going to be on that exact list, or if there's maybe been some adjustments made since. I'm really curious. I can't wait to see. Though this will be really tough. Sigismar, notably, when you read Aurak, you will notice that you want to play characters with a stat 0 in their stat line, and the hero that most punishes that is Sigismar. So often a very difficult matchup for the Aurak, but we'll see what Elio has in mind here to maybe overcome the odds here.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I think exactly as you say, that is probably the single most punishing hero in the game for that. But yeah, I'm really wondering overall what Elio is looking to do as their main goal in this game, and maybe what sort of uniques they're working with the deck as well. There are some really sweet options for the hero, even outside of like, I know you've been a proponent of the, just trying to flip Hydrocana gameplay strategy, but there's also been some like resupply combo style strategies. And in this case, I have no idea what he's running. I believe our deck lists should be appearing on the screen, although I don't think we can see the uniques themselves just yet. But yeah, regardless, could be a really cool build.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can go for now with the Aurak flip. There's some obvious ones like the Hydrocana, Kaibara, the classics. Of course, Mind Apophis is always a fun one to go for. In Trial by Frost, we got Winter Nova that a lot of people started adding to their Aurak decks. And now there's a little bit ones that are more like hedge bets, where They're also fine if you don't flip them, and these two are things like Lernian Hydra and things like the Minotaur, notably as well. Just they're good to hit, but they are also reasonable to just play out from hand.
I'm really liking Bliss Bassist, by the way, as well. It's a really cheap early play, which Aurak likes to have, but it actually gets relatively large in stats for cost. At this point now, with the 2 boosts on it, that's Aloe Vera stats, but for 2 mana. And honestly, I think anyone who's been playing a lot of Aloe Vera will realize the stat line on it is not bad at all. Especially if Aurak is able to stall out on the companion side this day. That Bliss Bassist is particularly threatening, so I think that the Sigismar is going to have to commit a lot to that companion side here, which, all things considered, I think is a reasonably good trade for Elio. Being able to get an additional card draw off of the Haven Sarengar here, definitely pretty important, and did not get advanced over there.
Well, there is a unique that was just played, and it does put Haven Sarengar to sleep. That is a pretty big punish here. Double advance for Sigismar, and now that Sarengar, yes, it's still advancing on a forest expedition, but it's defending a mountain water expedition, where it's really not going to be all that strong.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. Turns out that character, that Monolith Runescribe, has essentially 0 restrictions, and replaces itself, and has that Sandman effect, and has good stats from the backside for a single mana. Absolutely absurd. Normally that would cost a lot in order to be able to get one of those cards down, like something like the Sandman there. That would have been expensive in terms of card resources and everything, but that one just replacing itself. I think Sigismar's in general really gravitating now towards card draw uniques, especially off the back of the suspension of Baba Yaga. But yeah, this one is just fantastic. What can you say?
Yeah, I guess this is a classic welcome to the world of Ordis, where you get good hero abilities, good uniques, or great uniques, we should say, compared to a lot of the other classes. And man, brutal situation here. Even with a double advance, if Elio doesn't stop this hero side, there's still going to be 2 expeditions down in this game. And there you go, there's an Attorney, so looking to potentially just lose on the companion side, but then get a card again for Rico Fenwick on the Sigismar. But Elio will fight back a little bit on the hero side, force at least a bit more of a commitment. Is there another basis to maybe stop that advancement?
Yeah, we will see. I mean, it's just so hard because Elio is so, like, he's so hard pressed to have exactly specific cards at the right times in order to be able to contest it all. Daedalus, all right, that one definitely helps out. That scout ability, super important here, will give at least 1 stat to something, and so that should shore up that hero side barely. But even then, with no progression there, that's still good for the Sigismar. They're going to sabotage away this Daedalus then.
Yeah, it's, you know, you look at a board where your opponent has Monolith Legate and Ordis Attorney, and if they lose, they win, and if they win, you lose. So is there really any winning outside of the Sigismar faction here? I don't know.
The Sigismar faction.
The Daedalus is going to get sabotaged, and that is going to leave Elio very short on cards. 3 cards after the Manaing decision, but finally, we will get our first performance of the game. And what are we betting on? Come on. Any bets here?
Heimdall.
Heimdall? We're getting a Heimdall? That would be a bit awkward, actually, right?
It has to be. Let's go, Heimdall.
Isn't Heimdall forced water
Hathor,
stats?
oh, unlucky.
Oh, that is... I mean, it can block okay on the companion expedition.
Yeah, honestly, it's not the worst hit. Notably, the deck that we're looking at, it's not one that has these super massive hits. So, yeah, no surprise Hydrocana is going to come out and land here, unfortunately for Elio. But, you know, they're still alive. They still have a good number of cards to work with. And if they do happen to get some lucky run out here on the cards that they do draw in comparison to where Sigismar is looking to progress, things could be okay.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. The hero side, that's so interesting.
Oh, you know what that might mean?
Yeah.
As I'm staring at the list, but I don't know if I
I'm
see the
seeing
card.
it too. I think we're both thinking about the magic slay here in order to potentially break parity with the Sigismar, or at least get back to parity even, with a threatening potential double advance instead of just a single advance.
Oh, but this also makes sense that there were more skewed stats for that Mountain Forest expedition, so Elio wants to at least make sure they're getting an advancement in on the hero side, and that they can still block on the companion side. But man, it's looking tough. They don't have a lot of time left in this game to equalize it. They've gotten a lot of zero stats again though, so almost no matter what, they're getting another performance next turn. Oh, what a great card in the situation.
Yeah, definitely. Daedalus, again, super sweet here. Really threatening, both with that scout effect that can throw a boost down, which can be really important, but just being able to play that out again, it's actually really massive in stats on that hero side, especially at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it plays perfectly into the hero side. Ooh, except that it gets exhausted, which now actually means that Elio might just be forced to really, really overflow their reserve. But, I mean, they are at least still threatening a trade here, if Rico Fenwick does not have a play. Of course, 2 mana for Sigismar will very often mean they have a play left. Even then, Elio will have one more shot at getting a performance next turn. And man, it's brutal though. Double advance for Sigismar. There needs to be a 2-0 coming in from Elio next turn. And we see in the chat, Kelon, you have cursed me. How could you, Kelon?
Why did I do this? No, okay, you know what? No, I want to believe though, right? Because unlike many other decks, this one could theoretically actually win this day. There is that copy of Magic Slay in the list, Freeloader, right? Imagine if Elio is able to play that out and then take a triple advance on this day. If anyone can do it, it's Elio, right?
Surely, yeah. I mean, so what's the dream here? We flip Magic Slay off the hero ability, or do we flip a Heimdall? Heimdall into hero side, Magic Slay hero side as well. And then Daedalus to play into the companion side. Oh, here's a little mouse instead. What does this one do?
This one's really cool. It does have that classic sabotage and then exhausted resupply effect. Nice just for 2 mana. It does block really well on the companion side. And then when it's played from reserve, it can discard a card from reserve to give the next character you play, or make it cost 1 less. Interesting. I like this effect for 2 mana, that sabotage plus exhausted resupply thing. You can actually use that on your own reserve as well sometimes, and that can give you a bit of additional value here and there.
Yeah, that's an interesting call out on that. It does play really well into the Companion Expedition as well, blocking, but the Companion Expedition is just not the one that's an issue at the moment, as these mismatched stats we're seeing in reserve they're not playing well into the hero side more so than the companion side, and that is where Sigismar will start overflowing all of their cards into. A really nice Studious Disciple does temporarily even it out, putting the Orda Spy to sleep with an arrow ability. Notably as well, just for Aurak in general, arrow uniques are really good, since from hand uniques do not proc when you hit them off this hero ability.
Yeah,
but like this,
they
do go off, which is massive.
I do think that is exactly one of those most critical dynamics that I think people often miss when they're trying to build their first Aurak lists. Uniques with that arrow, so impactful. And when you flip a really good unique off of Aurak, you want to feel like you got something good out of it instead of being like, I wish I could have played that from hand this game, you know?
Yeah, and as the game is already in its 3rd set, it is... Oh, wait, hold on. Let me not go off on a tangent right now. That's a Heimdall. That's huge here. I don't know if there is going to be anything swapped into the Companion Expedition. Is it mandatory? No,
it's May.
Okay. That's really interesting because it's harder for Sigismar to overcome the board state as it is right now than if Elio would flip something into the Companion Expedition.
And I mean, this plays really well on the stats currently. Unique plus Heimdall was the way to stay alive, I guess.
Yeah, it turns out it's a massive play onto that hero side. Main issue here is that even if Elio is able to stabilize this day, he's going to have to discard down so many cards here going into the next day, and there's no performance from Aurak either.
Oh, and
but
there's not
the
even a
answer.
needed one. It's a tiny jail to take out the unique and just trade 1 for 1. The power of these after you decks with 2-cost removal, it's so hard to stabilize into them, and that will be enough for Sigismar to take the win here. And yeah, condolences to Elio.
So sorry for cursing you so soon, Elio. But yeah, I always forget that we're not part of the No Unique Championship broadcast, where anyone that you spectate wins. It's the blessing, not the curse. But
yeah, that only happens on my stream.
True. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, explain the downfall of Alter's greatest YouTuber to me, Paandyandy.
Is that already considered a downfall?
No, wait, can you say it again?
Can you please explain the downfall of Altered's greatest YouTuber to me?
Oh.
Well, isn't the greatest YouTuber you?
Yeah, isn't the greatest YouTuber?
No, not yet. Not yet.
No, okay. But you're taking over after the downfall, right?
Yeah. After the downfall.
Okay, yeah.
That's why we're cursing him, actually.
Yeah, true. I forgot. Yeah, but I think in general, just this Aurak into Sigismar matchup, as you mentioned in the beginning, is just so hard. Trying to contest that token feels impossible, especially in the early days, and later on it can also feel just as impossible because, well, your opponent might flip expeditions where your characters currently are not good on, and you can't even block that 1/1 token, and that feels so horrible playing the Aurak list.
Yes.
And this was a nice and fun Aurak list, and our casters really liked the Heimdall, and were shouting that out left and right. And also, they were scouting the lists, also just were loving this Magic Slay apparently. So some nice callouts here for the deck. And also, I really like the inclusion of Flurry Karen Gardner. I haven't seen it do too much yet, but that being a 2/2 card for the Lyra faction feels a lot better than the 3-cost it has as common in the Mooner version, I think.
Yeah, totally agreeing with it. I mean, at the end, I don't want to say, because I'm always happy to see Aurak. I mean, to see Aurak is like not that rare right now, because Cole actually started to play Aurak as well. But no, it's actually always like, and also like Freeloader played it. So I'm sorry, Freeloader.
I have a lot of Aurak games.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot you. No, but actually, it's like a super
says
cool
he wants
list.
to be cursed next round.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then let's go.
Keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Someone want to be watched next round. No, but actually, what I'm feeling like for someone who played like 1 or 2 games for myself as Sigismar, I feel like the problem that you have as a Akisha is always like that with like the 0 set liner, what is like being usually totally fine, because like activating the ability right now is like super, I don't want to say like super easy, but way easier than remember like back into set 1, right? So there's like always the possibility chance to always activate the ability like on almost every turn that you're playing, if you're going to be later what's on the game. But this is like also like a good thing for Sigismar, because not only Sigismar is being able to put out super duper cheap cards and overfloating the board just like with pure base characters, it's also the fact that I would say like besides like 1 or 2 cards that I could shout out right now, that all those stats are like super, I don't want to say perfectly balanced, but are like super well balanced for Sigismar in general. So there's like the feeling of like Sigismar could always answer that and could always playing something out on the board to take to the set. I mean, at the end, Elio somehow managed to go into the late game. I mean, just like shout out to the, Heimdall. Is it the new meta card? Will it be suspended on the watch list after this play? I don't know. I want to start the rumors, guys, but we should keep that in mind. So keep the hype.
Let's not overhype.
We don't overhype the card. It's like not that played that much. No, but actually, a super addition because it saved like just like one round. But I feel like what's like almost like the case for Aurak in general is just like if the ability is going to be activated, then you just like need to hope. You hope like pretty much that like super duper amazing something is coming out. So
What do you think
on
about
that?
not including any of these super high cost cards like the Hydra Cana or Hydra Learning Hydra?
I mean, I could quite understand it because also out of the could you quickly show the Ouroboros Incaster unique? And because the other two result,
Oh, that's
yeah, it's just like a normal one. Yeah, it's like I feel like that Elio started to focus more on like a super cheap card deck list to always pull out maybe like this effect, right? And then to play out with that around it. So this is like maybe one of the possible reasons to not choosing like the super high cost cards, because sometimes if you're not being able to just like find those cards or just like getting it in the starter hand or getting like a little bit too early in the game, then the chances are high that you're going to be struggling a little bit, right? I didn't play that much Auroch, so I cannot, but what I can actually just like say is like that we actually see like not these super duper 800 euro expensive unique cards from Sigismar, but Sigismar is also one of the strongest deck that you can play without any uniques, so it was just like a super cool game. So any additional stuff to add? Any other questions, guys?
And I think I just want to add for this Aurak deck,
Yeah.
there is a lot of trade-off between running like big hits and cheap cards to activate your hero power more consistently. And it's a push and a pull, because the more cheap cards you play, the worse your hits get. The more expensive cards you play, the less often you get to try and hit them, and also the worse your early game is. So I've seen a lot of different takes with this on Aurak. I think for these aggressive lists, the two big standout cards are absolutely Daedalus and the Sandman to me, as that is your way of getting double advances. Yeah, other than that, it can often get a little bit tricky on the list. So I do like that those are in there.
Am I mistaken? This Aurak list is not running the Guitarist.
It's not.
It is not.
Running,
Indeed.
it's not, yeah, it's not running.
Isn't that like one of the better cards for an Aurak list?
It's okay. I mean, it's a bit of a build around. Often if you have Daedalus, you can also run the Guitarist, but the fact is that there are not a lot of ways to get a boost onto a hero, onto a character in the Lyra faction. Okay. So it really only guaranteed has the boosts from reserve. And is that always worth it? It's kind of hard to say. The truth is, Aurak at this point actually has lots of pretty solid commons to play. And they are contested those slots.
I mean, on this list especially, like there's only one card that's not a character, so your Guitarist pretty much always draw a card, right? But I do understand the point that you only have one boost synergy except from reserve, and yeah, that makes it a bit harder to play from hand.
Yeah,
and the from reserve is also the 3 cost also a bit tough to play.
Yeah, I think that's all from my side. I love seeing Aurak be represented. I do really like the hero at the moment. I have a very different list with a ton of expensive cards, and I'm just trying to farm clips with it. But man, if you're running like Hydra version, you hate the hunger, you hate the license withdrawal. There's a lot of good stuff to counter Aurak, and Aurak isn't even like a up there hero. No one's trying to counter it, but they still are countering it.
The nastiest hunger play I've did so far is my opponent had 3 Hydra Canas out at the same time, and I just hungered them. That was sad times for my opponent.
Suspend hunger, change my mind.
Nah, hunger's fine.
Yeah,
hunger's
it's
fine.
totally fine to being put on the watch list. I feel. No,
We're
but
on
actually,
another-
yes.
We're right now on another Overlost game.
I just like want to watch him because the day before he, the game before he told me we can leave. But actually, I want to see like Gorang in action, so we just like go in, and it was like one of the not quite It's still too hot for me to talk. It was one of the tables that having the lowest progress right now, so that's why I was joining it. Yeah. So now, oh man, I hope like in Essen. Okay, hey guys. Besides the fact that we're always talking about this weekend that we're going to cast the Leo World qualifiers for English here on my channel, there will be also another World Championship qualifier from Germany, the one in Essen, that I will be there as well. And I mean, just like on the place actually, it's like super amazing, and I will be not alone there because someone from this cast will join me. And now chat, guess who it will be? Who will be?
I think that there are a lot of us that are could join us, and actually we're
like
not only there as 2-2.
Yeah.
So I'm joining you, but we're not actually not the only AQZ players that are there.
Because there is someone
Freeloader's
else.
also joining us, but playing, and I think also Void is playing.
Void
there.
is also coming?
Yeah.
Okay, that's super crazy. I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people that coming to join in for the day.
Yeah.
I wanted to say hi. I mean, guys, if you're watching the stream right now and you're being in Esne, just like feel free to join the stream, to say hi,
Actually,
whatever.
I haven't asked that yet, but are we casting in German or in English?
Oh, we're casting in English, of course.
Okay.
yes.
It might have been. But yeah, I've seen that the location is also doing a bunch of English casts for the, I think, Flesh and Blood.
Yes,
Blood
always when
Championships.
like the Flesh and Blood will be happen there, then there will also be casting that in English as well. They did it like for their own on last year, and this year they had actually like quite popular like Flesh and Blood casters from America actually, and then they had like
nice.
the clean feed there, and then actually casted for that. And guys, I don't want to show you like too much because I want to have it kept like for other streams, but like the setup, I cannot explain. This is like this is too serious. It's actually a really amazing setup, guys. So
Are we seeing a hunger here on the play?
I see quite often this combination of like mana flare, and then you're playing the hunger, boosting everything up, and then you're being able to just like actually getting gigantic, right? This is like super crazy, like a super crazy combo.
It's not an up cost from feeding at the milk. It's a down cost basically, since it's
like
doing
a
the
down
same
cost,
as it's basically doing the same as the milk, but with the milk you have to play it before and it costs mana, and with the mana flare you play it the same turn but you reduce its costs. But there is the answer in the hand here for Overloss in the license withdrawal, but one card left here as well for the Atsali and 7 mana, so most likely they still have a play, and it's that Sakurabu, so that will be a bit harder now to beat.
Oh my god, these spike mountains that enough to stop the expedition from advancing.
This is so crazy.
That's really funny.
This is so crazy.
Still alive,
Still
Overloss.
alive, Overloss. You can do that.
Yeah, I do think this is exactly one of these technically alive cases, but it's like, are there signs of life though?
Oh, it's like, oh my goodness.
It's just a 5 mana advantage for Atsadi is all.
I mean, it's not that
Not
much,
too much.
right? It's like not that much. I mean, what could you do right now as an Atsadi with like 17 mana? Playing another hunger? I don't think so.
Yeah, not much.
I mean, what you should do? I feel like
2 after you effects in the Sakurabu, right?
Oh
Like,
no! Oh no! Oh no! I feel there's like a cooked goreng. Or is it? Okay. Do you think there is another hunger? Just like being on head? Is it
I wouldn't
enough?
bet on hunger, but
Okay.
it's enough for one side, but there is still a card left for Atsadi as well, and I
And-
cannot imagine it's a bad one.
Ready 2 mana orbs. Okay, and if you have, and you may return target character to its owner hand. That is crazy. That's a crazy card.
Oh, he can return his own Sakurabu to hand.
Yeah. Basically, I feel like that was like one of the game plans. That is. So,
Oh my
GG
God.
to Altered Aces by Julian. Actually, not so many Altered Aces players playing today, but Rash was on the stream. Are you preparing for Liiike, guys? I guess so. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah, that's
And
what
you
I was
can-
gonna say. That's my
Yeah.
guess.
You can just like share us the deck list. I mean, it's like one click.
To be fair, to Altered Ace's credit, from my understanding, they were one of the teams that prior to the Netherlands event were just openly telling people what heroes they were playing that day and not like trying to hide it or anything. They were
Oh.
just, from my understanding, they were just that confident that they were good enough on the heroes to not need to hide information. Unironically,
That is crazy. That is crazy.
I'm sure if Wesh is still hanging out in the chat, I'm sure he can confirm whether that's true or not. But that's what I've heard, at least.
Oh, that's super interesting. And we can continue. Oh no, I don't have like a super smooth way to announce round 3. Round 3 started, guys, so you can pick another table.
Freeloader, this one's up to you.
Well, I
Table 5.
did.
Table
Yeah,
5. Oh, no, I'm
Boss,
sorry.
Boss told me that we have to curse Kohlrabi, so. Hey,
Don't say boss, please. Don't say
Boss,
that.
Boss told me I need to
No,
go
don't
curse
say that.
Kohlrabi.
Please stop it.
So,
No,
you know,
no. We don't
I'm gonna
stop
go
this.
curse Kohlrabi, I guess. I don't know.
Although,
Table 5. Or do you have a better one in mind?
no, I agree. That's totally fine by me. Boss still not having adopted the English Goblin 1 username, which is very frustrating to me, but that is okay. AQZ Series Watcher is still putting in his best effort. Again, while we wait for this one to load, this is week 4 of AQZ Championship Series Season 2. I am the Kelonguy, joined on the commentary table by Freeloader, the innovator himself, and then we have Runefolk, the mastermind, and Paandyandy, the legendary host himself, running things on the back end over at the analysis desk. It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a great time on the AQZ stream. Watching people play, gunning for that 5-0 and that invitation for the final event that will be happening at the end of the season. And what are you expecting Kohlrabi to be on here? I mean, they are known as a Muna lover, an absolute Tasia one-trick. I don't think they ever actually played another hero seriously. But
if it was Paandyandy, I'm sure he would be saying Kohlrabi, the Sigismar player, but I know that Cole's been playing some Lyra stuff recently, so I'm going to hope that he's on Lyra.
Yeah, I think it's been Tasia as always, then a bit of Basira from what I know, and Aurak as well. They've been trying to get those Aurak high rolls, though they're trying to high roll some, in my mind, kind of dubious cards. We'll see if that is the case. It does in fact look to be the case. Aurak there on Kohlrabi's side into an Akesha. I don't know if we're just running into a lot of Akeshas or if it's maybe a bit of the flavor of the month here.
Everyone wants to be playing these cool spells, I think, that Akesha is often able to put out. But yeah, just a cool gameplay style. I think it's been, in some cases, the least favorite for a while of the Izmir heroes, and it's nice seeing her get some love here and there. One of the best openers in the game for Akesha is starting with a Baba Yaga, but unfortunately, it just allows them to trade. Nice stats on this unique for Kohlrabi. That's a great unique.
Yeah, being able to give everything fleeting at dusk, not the most impactful here, and Baba Yaga does actually counter that ability very nicely, but it is still an incredibly potent ability. If you are not ready for it, you can lose all of your resources by turn 2 or 3 already. So, good answer with the Baba Yaga, even if it does not sit fully stat-wise on top of that unique. Then round
Sorry, I
two.
just had to bully Paandy a bit in the chat there because he was spending his time trying to bully Cole for taking a bit of time there while the deck names were still unupdated. But there we go.
Those decks are updated. I was on time.
There we are.
Hello?
Now it is.
Don't talk to your boss like that.
Sorry, boss. No, you're right. That's why I'm here. It's because Paandyandy pays me all of the big bucks that he gets from this stream. So always happy to join in and consume the entire team's budget.
Yep, that is how it goes. The rest of us are absolute wage slaves, but Kelonguy gets it all. Here, Akesha being able to start this day 2 with the After You ability is quite nice. They'll be able to see where there will be stats committed from Kohlrabi's side. But man, this basis plays really well into the Companion Expedition. That's kind of scary for Akesha.
You know what, Freeloader? I think Cole's done it. I think Cole's broken the game. This is it right here.
You think this is the new meta?
Yeah. Not much else to say. Oh my goodness.
Wow,
Unique being discarded to
uniques.
Baku. Just how good is that last remaining card in hand for Kohlrabi? That is the question that I have at this point.
Well, honestly, I'm reading this unique. It's a Paper Herald, 1 from hand, 2 from reserve, 100 stats. With an air build, you may discard a card from your reserve. If you do, roll a die on a 4+ draw card on a 1-free resupply. That is,
as I said, game breaking.
game-breaking unique. So, you know, maybe there's a common in hand left for Kohlrabi that's just a little bit better than this unique Paper Herald. But either way, Kohlrabi will secure an expedition lead with their first unique, and actually give that Baku fleeting again. So nothing going to reserve from Akesha here.
Yeah, definitely. I think Akesha is very comfortable with the situation being what it is. They're a little bit behind on the tumult, but realistically, there's not enough pressure coming in that they really care at the moment, I would say. And with Aurak being on so few cards, they're likely not even... I mean, they're definitely not this day threatening a performance, but likely, even if they manage to the next day, they're likely going to be in a situation where they won't be able to repeatedly have performances each day. And I think that is the big worry when Aurak starts to chain things together, where every single day they're activating that ability. That's when the big worries come in. But realistically, with this build of Aurak, you never know. Any of these cards, like a single spin on this, could be absolutely game-breaking.
Yep. And here's Daedalus. Played normally from hand, not with the Scout ability, will put 2 boosts onto the basis, 1 from the basis ability, 1 from Daedalus ability. Unfortunately, didn't get the high roll, so will only provide 3 stats in the Water Expedition. But that might be 4 more coming in soon from the basis. Oh, never mind. There is a Sabotage. And now, just waiting to see what Kohlrabi's last card is before really committing their strong stats. I wonder what those might be for Akesha. If there's also maybe some Category Alchemist coming out here, or if they favor other cards. But this might be, you know, if Kohlrabi plays nothing, this might be a 1-0 back. And otherwise, it might just be a trade of expeditions again. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that always being the risk of just not playing out the character from reserve immediately and instead deciding to try to max out that passive support ability to give those additional boosts over the Bliss Basist. And Tooth Fairy, no sabotage effect is as punishing as that one, honestly. Just 2 mana and having stats on every single terrain. So good in those spots, so punishing. It's a great resource trade, and yeah, no other play here for Kohlrabi means there's not even going to be a performance this upcoming day. A unique is played that gives fleeting over to the Daedalus as well. Oh man,
yeah, that is really good in this situation as well. A way to play a cappella training in the Izmir faction in a deck that really just tries to snipe resources like this one with the Bakus, with the 2 fairies. A unique that gives fleeting fits into this game plan perfectly. And now Kohlrabi's in a little bit of trouble here. We'll have 2 cards in hand after. If they even put 1 into mana, then they'll have 3 if not. But they do go with it. Probably still makes sense fairly early in the game. But with low resources on Aurak, your hero ability also just gets delayed because you can't just play characters everywhere at all times. And it's kind of brutal, but here's a good one. This is a good card to see when you're low on cards.
You know, I'm laughing now, realizing that Paandyandy did indeed update the deck names, but he got them backwards. Turns out we are having the Mind Apotheosis Winter Nova Aurak going against the Katagear Hostage Akesha. Oh man, and I feel like as the hostage player, you are so relaxed at this point as well. You're playing a heavy discard build as well as that hostage strategy, so these low resource games are going to go so well for you. There we go. We've fixed that. But yeah, this low resource game for the Aurak is just so punishable by that hostage strategy, especially because, realistically, there's not going to be any removal that gets to stick around for Aurak to use onto the Akesha, and they're just not aggressive enough for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a hostage list because it isn't a Celebration Day deck,
Yes, it
right?
is. It is.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not seeing the Celebration. Oh, no, it is. It's up there. Why is it up there? Aren't expensive cards supposed to be at the bottom of deck lists? I don't know, man. Though, to be fair, Hunger does that as well. Hunger always chills at the top of every deck list for absolutely no reason. Very confusing. Either way, so this is then a proper hostage list. Plays those Winter Novas as well, which can also be quite good, since Aurak will often put their big things into play quite early in the day, and then you can just sacrifice them away. And finally, we will now see our first performance, and for now, Kohlrabi is still holding on to this expedition lead.
Come on,
at least
mind
something for them.
apotheosis. Mind apotheosis.
And actually,
we have no bias here. But
yeah,
mind
absolutely no
apotheosis,
bias.
let's
No
go.
bias. No bias. No bias. There is outside of Mind Apotheosis. There is Tanuki. It's okay. It's okay. It does something. I
It
guess.
has stats. It threatens to advance even through this unique that's currently in the reserves. That's nice.
And honestly, what I'm gonna say though is that Kohlrabi is running the counter to the hostage deck in this list, actually, in the form of Small Step Giant Leap.
True.
You know, even if Akesha tries to play that Celebration Day game plan, surely the Small Step Giant Leap cheese will allow Kohlrabi to advance anyway. I
Aside for
definitely
the fact
won't
that-
go punished. Definitely
Yeah.
won't go punished.
Definitely agreed, and definitely won't get punished by the fact that it now takes place at dusk, the advancement, instead of immediately or whatever. Or never mind, the win is at dusk or whatnot. Ugh. Yeah, it's a really hard spot. It's also one of these things where I think for many times when you're playing the Akesha list, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm against Lyra. This is going to be really complicated because I don't have an easy way of getting through a bunch of characters and then late game getting through Cloth Cocoon, for example. But it being Aurak, there just aren't reactive spells here.
Yeah, it's really hard to run a lot of spells in Aurak since they are in fact not characters with a 0 statistic in their stat line. It's honestly the funniest thing to me that, you know, there's some heroes like Sigismar, Kojo, Fen that have very consistent, very stable, and very powerful hero abilities. And then you have Aurak that requires you not only to run like an almost all characters list, but also requires them to all be bad as well, as like 2 conditions to make your deck somewhat function, and sometimes you get to flip something off the top of your deck, but because you only run characters that are bad in your deck, it's also going to be in fact a bad character that you flip. It's absolutely beautiful. So one of my favorite things about this Aurak hero is absolutely just the amount of deck building restrictions you have when engaging in this hero.
And your reward for all of this is, of course, flipping Martingale, so that is always really exciting.
It's like half of a Sigismar ability.
It really is. Speaking of half of a Sigismar ability, I know we still have a couple Kojos who are doing really well in this event, so we will see if
Hey,
they
that
can
was
maybe
good.
take the day.
That was really good.
If they can maybe take the day instead of a Sigismar player. I think everyone is excited when Sigismar doesn't win everything at the moment, but I mean, I've seen a lot of Kojo everywhere as well. I'm starting to get tired of Kojo just as much, but
I'd never get tired of Kojo. You know what a wise Altered player once said?
roll dice.
Well, that as well. But Kojo is the only hero that actually plays the game of Altered, and whoever said that, very wise, very handsome.
Well,
Yeah,
you know
great-
my
great
thoughts
person.
about wisdom, so there's that. Regardless, Akesha now does have that first player token, meaning they can use their After You this day. And I think this is one of the days as well where they're heavily incentivized to actually wait a little bit before using it. They can potentially just play out this Baba Yaga from reserve. It's going to be awesome in terms of stats. And then they will be able to later in the day force a critical decision at the right time instead of just giving the priority over to the Aurak. So we'll see.
Yeah, sometimes waiting on that Akasha Hero ability can be very, very strong, just to really deny the maximum amount of information at like a certain timing for the opposing player. And honestly, with the cards that Kohlrabi has in reserve right now, they're actually playing into the expeditions really well. It's just as the game goes on, these hostage decks just get stronger and stronger, and the number of ways to survive just keeps shrinking and shrinking with each passing day. So it's going to be an uphill battle from here for Kohlrabi.
I do think the nice thing, though, for him is still that he will get another performance spin, at least, over the next day, almost certainly. I'm very much assuming that will be another character played out this day to enable that. Mind Apotheosis being shown now, it is in the reserve, flipped by, or exchanged for that Lyra Contortionist that was flipped by the Nyala. The Contortionist does get played out, so we are back to 5 performance counters. I just have a feeling that Mind Apotheosis is never going to get played for 9 mana, or even if it does, whew, it's going to be awkward.
You know, I don't love to do this usually, but I do have to call it out in this list specifically because it is Kohlrabi. But the big hits in this Aurak deck are Mind Apotheosis, Winter Nova, and Small Step Giant Leap. And there's a bit of an awkward line of text on Mind Apotheosis that says, choose up to 2 characters. So that Mind Apotheosis, when played, cannot actually hit the Winter Nova or Small Step Giant Leap, which can make it quite awkward at times. But,
stop bullying him. There's a Shenlong and there's a Lernaean Hydra, okay?
That is true. There is a Shenlong and Lernaean Hydra also hanging out at the top of the deck list. So there are some hits, but it is amusing to me. Often when you see Mind Apotheosis in Aurak, it really is in a 36 character list alongside it.
Yeah, that's true, but you know, that being said, it does see 4 cards, meaning that there's still very good chances that it will hit enough characters to get some value out of it. It's just a little awkward, as you mentioned. But, you know, Lernaean Hydra will be pretty big at this point. I just feel like the inevitable thing that we're sort of setting ourselves up for here mentally is where it looks like Aurak can actually contest and do things and is really alive in this game. And then at some point, Akesha reveals, haha, I didn't care about progressions all along. I was just waiting to stall you out. And then we play that game for the remaining 5 minutes or whatever.
Well, that, or we keep trading expeditions. Hear me out. We keep trading expeditions, and then performance ability procs and Small Step Giant Leap, and suddenly Cole wins the game.
Hey, I'm glad that one of us is huffing copium today. That's good.
Yeah, what do you think of my creative writing exercise for today?
It's hey, yeah, all those courses you took are really paying off. But it's also really funny checking out the reserve now for Kohlrabi. Notably, a grand total of 0 statistics on water, but luckily for them, they are able to theoretically threaten to progress here, just on that forest stat line, and they're going to be very strong on that. It is 8 mana worth of characters just hanging out right there, so their game plan, even if that card in their hand is not particularly good, their game plan this day is pretty solid, I would say.
Yep, that is true. And there is no answer to Katagear in sight at the moment, so just pray for no Katagear, and we are in business on Aurak. What is the performance going to be? It could be anything. Oh, look! Hey! Look at that!
Whoa!
That sounded not very genuine there. What happened?
That was exciting. Small Step Giant Leap for 0 mana. That's almost as good as old Small Step Giant Leap used to be. That's pretty sweet.
That is true.
Hey,
0 mana Small Step.
And suddenly they're now also on a mountain expedition where their Lyra Contortionist contests even better than usual.
Yeah, it immediately gets played out for that reason. The neurons were firing. Katagear Alchemist to return 1 mana after you. There will be a lot of control for Akesha to determine how they want to play out the turn after this. But actually, hold on, is another Small Step Giant Leap. Kohlrabi is saying, hey, block
Oh,
me
no.
on the companion expedition or lose. The
No,
category
freeloader.
will
This
get
is-
down.
This is so sad, though. That was their last small step giant leap in the list, so now they're not going to be able to threaten to potentially win through this category loop.
That's true, and now because they spent all that mana on Small Step Giant Leap, Blizzard will be enough to stop the advancement. If there's a Celebration Day in hand, then that will secure 2 more turns worth of time for Akesha, but the category is the first piece of the puzzle for this hostage situation in full. You also need to make sure you're drawing enough cards and to, have access to your celebration days when you need them. Because it is quite resource intensive to hold down both expeditions indefinitely.
Man, this is absolutely crazy. I'm just thinking, is there a way that this can be broken now by Aurak? Oh, it's so difficult. Just being able to even cast a very expensive spell like that Blizzard in Reserve on its own might be enough to break through the Aurak game plan here. There's no additional performance at noon here for the Aurak, so no miracle flips coming. It's just going to be whatever cards are in reserve in the hand, and if this Nyala gets played out, another card off the top, but that gets sabotaged away immediately as well. Oh man, I wonder
Another category.
if there was any possibility to wait like one more day on that small step in hand to potentially be able to break through this category.
Yeah, if Kohlrabi had gotten a trade of expeditions off last turn, and then just ripped the small step on this turn, well, actually, Akesha could have potentially double advanced to draw it up to Arena. But being in Arena against Hostage, I actually don't know how that goes. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, a Hostage deck in Arena.
I think it wouldn't be that terrible, as in, yeah, it would look a lot more playable because suddenly Celebration Day loop is not a thing. But by that point in the game as well, you're likely just casting so much free removal that you could likely even win with like a single character. And Akesha plays enough of those, at least in this build, that I wouldn't be too worried.
Fair enough. I'll take your word for it. Either way here, despite double small step giant leap, there just were not enough advancements happening in a fair character way, and so Akesha, with that Moth Breeder, will be able to lock up both expeditions and take the win, stopping the nigh unstoppable Aurak Kohlrabi deck.
Brutal. Was really close, though, actually, I have to say. Somehow, that Kohlrabi made that look very playable, and Aurak looking maybe a lot stronger than a lot of us expected.
Yeah, absolutely. So how was that looking from the perspective of the kitchen there? Any further thoughts on Aurak? Anything catch your eye here?
I mean,
I just need to real quick mention, I think you haven't seen my error run yesterday when you said you haven't seen hostage decks in the arena so far. Yesterday I was playing Hostage Varu basically, and I was in the arena, and I was not only in the arena as the only hostage deck. No, there was another hostage Akesha going up against me, and I luckily won that one. But yeah, that was a nail biter of a game. And
I did not in fact see that game.
but to the Aurak list,
Code just like playing next to his manager, okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Crazy, no, but actually to the guess, I mean, first of all, the most special thing that actually Cole cooked here is this most of giant leap basically that's going to be sitting in the list, right? And
I think we have someone here that's a big fan of the small step giant leap, right?
Yeah, I'm still a big
Also
fan
always
of it.
telling me he wants to include small step in every single Afanis list he plays, or also in pen lists.
Yeah, I mean, hey, small steps to the super nice card. No, actually it was like a super interesting match, and I feel like it's got super duper well for Cole on the beginning, just like with the pro amount of like cool cards that are going to be, especially like the small step, it's like still super cool card. What was actually super duper set at the end is like, do you feel we could go into the tiebreaker when like the Hydra would be played out instead of the Martingale before the Baku was going to be out to play?
don't know. I haven't paid attention, I guess.
Okay, but
The
okay.
answer is no.
The
I
answer
think
is no. Okay.
I think tiebreakers is still quite hard here for the Aurochs, since there is that Winter Nova in the list here for the Akasha, and that card is just a bit strong into some of these low character count lists.
No, but I mean, actually, just like the fact of seeing like that much Aurochs, now we can see here actually more of one, like, I don't want to say, like, I mean, beside this was the Giant Leap is like one of the more base Aurochs that maybe usually going to be into the play, like with super high card scores that you want to get out with the ability, want to getting out onto your battlefield, and then with that, just like going super songs into that. I mean, I actually wanted to see the Shenlong unique. I was hoping like that we can actually maybe see that, because this is like, I need to make it a little bit bigger for you guys so you can enjoy it as well. Yeah, here we can see it. Just like with this amount, and so with that it's going to be that, but actually Akisha just like turned out to getting like it at the end, and I mean, it's just like one of those, it's like not a hostage Akisha, right? It's just like a normal Akisha, it's just like playing with Pedicure, or is it like...
Well, it has Kelonguy, it has Winter Nova, it has Celebration Day, but it doesn't have the Small Sub Giant Leap, so it's just planning on winning
like
the
mix,
Winter Nova,
right?
I guess.
Yeah, it's maybe like
it's still, you could call it big spell Akasha, I guess.
Okay,
but,
okay.
It definitely it has the hostage.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, fair enough.
I mean, according to the rules, you're not being allowed to play hostage either.
I mean, that's you're probably referring to some BGA rules there, right?
Yeah. Oh, you already figured out you can still play with it.
No.
No,
Okay.
no, just kidding. No. It was like there are like actually rules on Board Games Arena for those who don't know, and there was actually a mention if you start to play like just like to break down, if you start to play stuff that is just like being meant to that you just like don't get like any progress in the game or stuff like that, you just like continue to make the game like moving. There was like a big question, are those hostage lists basically one of those things? What do you think about it? Would you say your hostage list is going to be on the same thing?
Well, I'm not sure to what sort of games that applies on BGA. I could see that in general be a problem to just indefinitely stall out the games on a platform that is not allowing you to concede the game before 50% of the game is played. So at some point you can really just keep your opponent on the table, and they can just not leave unless they sack their karma points and can't therefore play arena for a while.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see that see that being a problem, but I don't see a hostage be a big problem for that. But maybe I'm wrong on that.
So it was like a super cool and great game to watch. Casters, do you want to have like anything to know? Do you have like anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have a really important question for you guys, which is Shenlong better or worse than Shen Short?
Oh, whew. I mean,
well, it's Shen Short sounds better. It's summertime, right?
Yeah. I mean, in Germany we say in der Kürze liegt die Würze. So and it's just like the technique, you know. So I would say like Shenlong. No, just kidding. Actually, it would be super funny if we see like Shen Short and Shen Short like on Z4 or Z5, and then it's like a baby dragon or something like that. Would be super funny.
If they make that though, I hope it's tough. I want it to still be tough.
Yes.
Tough's cool.
That would go hard, like a 2-cost 2/2/2 of tough 1. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so with that, super nice that we're seeing that many Aurochs. I mean, we just like saw it on stream at the end when it's going to be uploaded on 39 cards, or also maybe like right before. I'm actually super excited to see if those were like the only Aurochs that we saw for today. As now the last table that's going to be played will be a fan mirror match actually. It's like super interesting. So just like take a look at that, and then we're already being on round 4.
Notably,
So,
one of the fens
yeah.
is currently at like negative a minute and a half, so it's very likely that this one, even if they're able to survive this day, it's very likely this one's going to end by time.
Yeah.
Also, some really sweet uniques coming out from our bottom fen. They look pretty powerful.
Oh, that's like spring on that, and we can see here may turn a spell if like a character with basic statistic of 0, and then another thing, yeah, you can also return a spell. Okay. Do you think those uniques would make sense in an Aurac list as well?
Less so. The reason for that is something that Freeloader was touching on earlier about it's sort of a deck building restriction for Aurac that if you want to be hitting your ability often, you just can't play many spells, which makes it very hard to use. So yeah, if it's return a card in general, it might be a little bit better, but return a spell, pretty hard to make work out of Aurac, honestly.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that assessment. It's too hard to run spells. This because if you're running these types of uniques, you're definitely running them alongside magical training, and that strategy just doesn't really work in Aurac because it relies on Ouroboros Incaster as well, which also is not a bad character, so you can't run it in your Aurac list. And yeah, then magical training isn't a bad character either, so you can't run that in your Aurac list. You really need a critical mass of bad characters to be running Aurac.
Okay. So I shouldn't start to invest in those units, as you're right.
Well, they're good for Fen.
Yeah, they're good for Fen.
I mean,
they're good for Nevenka as well, honestly.
Did I ever bought uniques and didn't play the deck afterwards? Did I ever did it? No.
Surely not.
Maybe once, maybe twice. Maybe 3 times in a row. Maybe 4th.
Either way.
Talking about 4th, we can also talking about the 4th round it's going to be. So guys, which table do you want to join in for the 4th round?
I think it's your turn, Kelon.
Oh no, it's my turn? Oh.
Yeah, I got
It's
lucky.
your
Boss took my decision, not yours.
Stop boss.
Yeah, you know, it's really sad. I was hoping to be able to jump into a Shake Your Body 54 match because that username's awesome, but they are against Kohlrabi. So we don't want to curse him a second time in a row here.
That's true.
So I think we're going to head up top even. Let's go table 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so have fun, guys.
Thank you. It is the Ephanas mirror match.
Yes,
I gotta pay attention to this one.
Go.
This is one I still have to learn. The only 2 results I'm missing are Ephanas and Sigismar, so maybe I can learn a little bit of something in this one.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've now made an attempt of getting a result with both of those heroes, but unlike most of the other ones you've tried, you actually were unable to get your first result with either of these S-tier heroes.
Yeah, I didn't one-shot them, which is interesting.
Surprising.
Surprising, to say the least. There's a couple nuances definitely happening with both of the heroes, actually. Specifically, in Sigismar, I stumbled on the mirror match, and in Ephanas, I stumbled on the Sigismar matchup. So I haven't figured out quite all the quirks of it yet, but I was also basically first timing, so I'm not all too worried about it.
Gotta say here, Tibuchu's opener is absolutely beautiful. This is one of the new ones that you get while playing Field Reinforcements at Rare. I think that's one of these more common inclusions now that was a little bit less popular in previous sets, but combining that with the 1-mana Spindle Harvester's play, yes, the last day did go even. It wasn't even trade on the Tumult, but Ben Hall having to both commit a Katagirian Mage Dancer plus a Sleight of Hand with 0 value there in order to get the progression over it. And the Spindle Harvester sticks around. It's really likely that this Katagirian Mage Dancer is going to have to get played onto that side just to go over it. And yeah, already doing a really good work.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how it works in Ephanas, because Katagirian Mage Dancer is really your big threat, right? And you really want to actually get an advantage out of that. And you don't typically want to use it to only stabilize the game. So when you're forced to do that, you immediately feel a little bit at a disadvantage. And yeah, maybe Tibuchu can capitalize on that later in the game when they have more Mage Dancers left in the deck than Ben Hall. Or do I got that wrong? Is it not just the absolute Mage Dancer show in this Ephanos matchup?
You know, it really depends. I'm not a big believer. I mean, as someone who's played a good bit of Ephanos, I really think the matchup is less about raw stats most typically, and it's typically more about finding a card advantage snowball. Of course, sometimes that is Mage Dancer reliant. A lot of people were playing Katagir and Mage Dancer rare. Notably, something I'm really excited about, both of these players are on common Mage Dancer, which is something that I used to get a lot of criticism for. I was not a big common Mage Dancer stan, but that was one of my personal things where I was like, what's the meme? Like, it's not me who's wrong, it's everyone else who's wrong.
Yeah.
and I really feel like people are starting to figure out common Mage Dancer really good at common, and there's so many good rares that you get to play for potential card advantage, removal, and other effects at this point, like that license withdrawal that just sniped off that Katagir and Mage Dancer.
Yeah, I guess that is actually a good call out, right? With the license withdrawal, there's just more and more counters to these early on kind of the linear strategies that Ephanos were on, where it was just like, oh yeah, I'll play Mage Dancer and then I'll double advance. Play a bunch of spells, double advance, right? And now you actually need to worry about more and more cards as the card pool grows. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit different topic, but you know, you were talking about you can snowball this matchup by having card advantage. Meanwhile, I feel like we're seeing both players here commit everything and the kitchen sink to the board every turn, and there's not a whole lot of card advantage going on for anybody right now.
I really think this one is most likely to come down to the first player that's able to just trade 1-for-1 while playing a Conjuring Seal. I think if a player is able to do that, they're going to set themselves up for so much success. But yeah, it's a super low resource battle. It's not typically the way that we see Ephanos mirrors play out, I would say. Typically a little bit more control focused, but yeah, it's an absolute war in these early turns, just characters and removal being flung around left and right at this point. Rhymefrost now exhausting down this red, so that's likely going to do its best to prevent a potential, either an advance, but also that spell return off of it. But yeah, we'll see. Wondering what the last cards for both players are now.
Yeah, I do like this Rhymefrost play. It does mean that if there's not a magical training, pretty much, or a Conjuring Seal as a last card for Ben Hall, then they are in a super awkward spot because they're kind of forced to play out both of their cards this turn. They're going to overflow their reserve, and it's just not going to be looking great into a Spindle Harvester that might be sticking around next turn. But if there is something like a card draw effect here, then it is less awkward. But there isn't yet. Just
there it is.
Pass.
The 1-cost trade plus Conjuring Seal. Yes, exactly. It's
is this game over?
Line. Honestly, it's so close to it. I think that if there's either a removal effect that gets this red off the table right away, or a sabotage to take it out immediately, I think that might actually do it on its own, really. So important finding that additional card draw here. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it just gives you so many more tools to use and abuse in the matchup. You know, it's weird because a lot of the removal cards that Ephanos runs functionally have fleeting, just because you're never really playing them from reserve, just because of how mana intensive they are. And then you often can't keep those in your hand when you are low on cards. But then as soon as you have that 1 or 2 extra cards to work with, you can keep these removal effects, and in the Ephanos matchup, removal is just so strong because there are very few characters coming out from both players. And yeah, that is going to be brutal potentially. The sabotage here coming out really wants to limit the number of plays Ben Hall can make this game. And I gotta agree with you, if we don't see some magical trainings or some Conjuring Seals coming out from Ben Hall, this game might just already be over as soon as Tibotru can secure any kind of double advance, and they're going to get more and more opportunities to do so.
That red, at least, though, is trading better than even now, at least. You assume one of these two cards in the hand of Ben Halls here on the bottom of Fanas is going to be a spell or another way of getting a boost onto the red at this point. So that will unlock, though, when I leave the Expedition Zone. If I have 2 or more boosts, you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. So yeah, that does pair pretty nicely here with this Off You Go. That will at least give them an extra reach. At least, more cards to play is very good, very important for them. But yeah, I would say definitely the advantages slightly in the favor of Tibuchu here are top of Fanas. Even if there's like a Conjuring Seal coming up over the next day or so for our bottom of Fanas, playing that card first is so good, not only because it draws you more relevant cards and more gas, but it's also a sort of a brick in the later stages of the game that you've gotten rid of from your deck. A card that doesn't actually advance things on the Tumult, you've already gotten through it and towards more of your better cards, and if your opponent draws it in the late game, it's going to be really difficult to play out.
Yeah, and honestly here, they managed to get this 1-for-1 still through the red. The Off You Go was solid, but yeah, not as solid as card draw would have been in this situation. And yeah, we just see slowly Tibuchu having access to more cards means they are more likely to find more card draw. It's kind of the snowball of card advantage. If you have a little bit of card advantage, you find more card advantage, you find more card advantage. And they have so many more cards to work with here. Yes, there is a spell return from that unique, but they're too far behind at this point. The expeditions are still even, but I would be surprised if that isn't changing soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's been just a beautiful game plan so far. I think, both of Fanas is doing their best here, but just that early, even that day one, honestly, was so advantageous for Tibuchu. Field Reinforcements, really one of these cards that's at its best on day one as well, where you're able to make use of both that token you get and the card draw. Notably, even if it was on its own, that token does become a 2/2/2, letting you go over, for example, a Sigismar on the hero side, who gets that day one token, which is pretty sweet. The additional card draw is awesome, and when that boost can, instead of going onto that token, go onto a Spindle Harvesters at rare, that's even better.
Yeah, the Spindle Harvester rare is something that we actually used to not see as much of, and now we're seeing more of it. I think especially in lists that are playing this common Mage Dancer, they've found that, all of a sudden there's no Helping Hand, there's no rare category Mage Dancer, and they have all these rare slots they don't know what to do with anymore. And they're thinking, hey, why not throw in the Spindles? It's a 1-cost character with Anchor that functionally doubles the effectivity, or what's the word for that? There's a good word for that. The effectiveness?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah, I feel like there's a better one, but I can't think of it. But it doubles the effectiveness of that Fanas hero ability, keeping those boosts over 2 turns, and, on a 1-mana play, that just seems phenomenal. It's what Fanas wants to be doing anyway.
I think it also pairs really well with one of the ideal Fanas uniques that a lot of players have gravitated towards after the Helping Hand suspension, which is Muna Caregivers with spell looping potential. The ability of potentially looping spells and having that anchor support ability can really just keep a massive Spindle Harvester around to win a subsequent day even. It's a little awkward when you spend a unique slot to use that anchor effect, but if you've already gotten some value off of it from the front half, it can be so good. Really sweet Mage Dancer coming out now here as well from Tibuchu on the top of Fanas. It is a Leaves unique, meaning that when it leaves the Expedition Zone, you do get to return a card other than it from your reserve to your hand. Notably, no restriction on that. It doesn't need any boosts for it. And it also gives characters fleeting whenever you play a spell. That's so cool.
Yeah, a bit more of a card advantage take on the Fanas game plan. Saying, hey, there's going to be boosts flying around anyway, I might as well tighten up the resources of my opponent. Off You Go comes out here. Notably, spells resolve before triggers resolve from spells. So you can't remove the card you want to give fleeting. It would go to reserve. And that
very
is
correct
why,
on that.
Yeah, that's why it goes after the token here instead of the Sneezer Shroom. Will be another trade, and actually they burn a ton of cards from hand to do that.
Yeah, almost a really awkward day. Yeah, playing so many cards out from the front side, it's rough. A lot of these spells, even in the list at 1 mana, cost so much more from reserve that, yeah, it can be a little bit hard if you're not able to spend mana playing things from the back half then of the card. I mean, at least for them, they're still working with enough cards that I expect that they'll be able to keep playing the game, honestly, but playing into a Moth to a Flame from reserve already, it's going to be a tough one, I would say.
I mean, at least Tibuchu does have that double 1 cost in reserve situation, so you know there's some after use going to be coming out, you know there's going to be 1 body on both expeditions, so they can threaten an expedition advancement with any removal they might play later in the day, and they will have a significant mana advantage to kind of scope out what Ben Hall is doing, and that is going to go quite a long way. Won't commit the unique quite yet. Don't think they need to give that Disciple fleeting so quickly.
Given that no sabotage effects, for example, have come out so far from Ben Hall as well, I think you're relatively comfortable just leaving your unique in the reserve and just waiting for subsequent effects like card draw to come out from the Afanas before you feel like you need to play out your critical things from reserve. So I'm liking the sequencing thus far.
Yeah, because the logic is that if there is a sabotage from Ben Hall, it would have been their first play of the day. So them not sabotaging means they don't have a sabotage, pretty much.
Yep, that would at least, yeah, it's a good theory at least. Sometimes players will play around that line specifically, but in general, the advantage of just sniping off something that you think is critical so early in the day, often just the way to go. But regardless, we do have Off You Go coming out from our bottom of Afanas. Ben Hall taking down that boosted up Studious Disciple. They are running with just 2 mana remaining now at this point. I'm wondering what the play from Tibuchu is going to be. Whether it's this unique that can come out and potentially get picked off by another removal spell at this point, or whether they're going to further stall.
Yeah, I mean, if they play unique and it gets removed, it could get very awkward for them. Especially if they don't have another character in hand, which is definitely something that can happen to Afanas. And they go with it anyway, so I expect there to be at least like a Moth to a Flame or something. If they have Moth to a Flame plus Off You Go in hand, I think they will get an Expedition lead pretty much no matter what. There is the second Off You Go from Ben Hall, so good on them there. They are threatening a double advance, but I would be extremely surprised if that is what's going to happen this turn. The magical train does get returned to hand, so Tibuchu has the world of options to them with 5 mana remaining. It's unlikely they can double advance, but can they trade 1 for 1 or maybe even 1 for 0 here?
I am such a massive fan of this category in Mage Dancer unique, it's unreal. These restrictionless effects on the Leaves the Expedition Zone, they're so punishing into removal specifically. Oh, wow. And then following that up here with a really sweet Monolith Legate, it's threatening to draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, that's a lot of card draw potentially. There's the Off You Go. Now, you could throw this onto... Nah, it has to go after Moth, right? There's not going to be enough chances to grow. And yeah, you can't give away that double advance, of course. So it will actually be a 1 for 1, but a little bit more card advantage coming in for Tibuchu. I mean, Ben Hall in between there was actually upping cards on hand, so they're navigating this beautifully, because from the cards played with that Conjuring Seal earlier in the game, this has really felt like Tibuchu's game to lose, but Ben Hall is making it really hard.
I think the thing that's really deceptive here as well is the fact that Ben Hall did miss mana one day in order to let this happen, essentially. To get that position where they could be... at least contesting pretty well in terms of card advantage when they just didn't have as much of that going on. It was so integral as well for Tibuchu. They had 1 mana remaining at the end of the last day and a known magical training in their hand, and they chose not to play it here. Their unique that they played out that drew them an extra card the last day as well, they just spent it for the After You effect rather than playing out the incredibly powerful unique effect again. I'm loving the way they're structuring this. It's so methodical. It's so conservative, their Lions. The play is so clean. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and now they're going to start just, after you discard ability into 1 cost,
It's so hard to contest with that, because you know that there's more removal that Benhol wants to play onto some key targets, but they're just not really going to get a chance. Meanwhile, any removal Tibuchu is holding will be able to find its target because of all of these after you effects. And you know, we might see a Off You Go or an Evanescence hit this Katagiri Mage Dancer right now, but hell, we might see it wait another play or two and then hit it and steal a double advance that way. It's just so hard to navigate, if not impossible to navigate for Benhol here. Another Conjuring Seal, I mean, both players went with Conjuring Seal here, but one player can afford to do it, the other cannot, is what it feels like.
Yeah, and just waiting until the last possible moment to give the information about whether or not that Katagiri Mage Dancer might just get picked off while it's already boosted up. Notably, there are no copies of Evanescence in Tibuchu's deck, so no need to sing "Wake Me Up Inside" as going after a Mage Dancer with that. But it's still one of these things where there's enough removal in the list for Tibuchu that I have a feeling that there's at least a good threat of that coming down onto the Mage Dancer if the plan is riding just that one out. So hoping for Benhol here that they have another character to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, they are in a lot of trouble. And if they have another character and they already probably cannot contest that Starfish unless they have another removal to go alongside with that as well. And if that isn't the case, then they need to try and win this companion side. It's going to be tricky, but maybe doable. If there is double removal for Tibuchu, I just think it is over here, though. I don't think that's the case, though. Actually, no, it's Benhol's action, so it might be the case. Either way, Tibuchu sitting really pretty, because even if Benhol somehow trades their way into an arena situation, Tibuchu just has so many tools going on right now. Magical training is the play, and that leaves Mage Dancer very vulnerable.
Oh, it's a Spindle Harvesters. Oh, it's a really good one, too. Anchors with an arrow, which is great. And it's at dusk. If I have one or more boosts, you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. It's not quite the perfect one with return any card, but spell return perfectly good in these decks. It's a nice strong one, and if there is another copy of Off You Go, for example, I think it might just be a lock for Tibuchu.
Yeah, I have a feeling as well. There's the Sleight of Hand. It will boost this Mage Dancer up beyond the point where Tibuchu can outstat it, but of course the easiest way to outstat anything is by just removing it, and it's gone, and there are no stats. And no stats are pretty easy to outstat, especially with the Afanas hero ability. There it is, the License Withdrawal will discard the Katagiri Mage Dancer in full and secure a double advance on the final day of the game for Tibuchu, keeping their undefeated run alive.
I'm really impressed by the way that this game was sequenced by Tibuchu. Notably as well, I think this follows a typical pattern. Even when the Afanases are fighting pretty well, if one of them misses a mana at some point, it's often just the death knell if the opponent has been able to set up anything of their own game plan. But regardless, we're going to be passing things back over to our analysts. I'm hoping they'll be able to talk a little bit about the dominance of removal in the metagame as a whole. But if you have any other commentary on the match itself, please run us through it.
I mean, it was an Afanas mirror match.
Paandy, that was so exciting. What are you talking about?
It was an Afanas mirror match. No, just kidding. It was a super cool match to watch, actually.
Was I the only one who almost fell asleep?
You see, the hostage player fell asleep during a mirror match. No, but actually, I think, direct to game, I mean, we can actually talk about, the removals, because I would say, it's, a cool example if you're going to take over the game, because we also got, H Potato in the chat, that also saying, since 3 games, that he's not being able to keep, a character just, on board, and I need to turn off because it's, too dark. So, yeah, talking about removals, Rune, what do you think, about, the removals in the game? Do you think they're, too much? That, every deck can now potentially playing out for the removals? So, what are your thoughts about that?
It's a good question. I do think removals are good, and having interaction is probably a good thing. But there were a bunch of new removals introduced in Whispers from the Maze, but I feel like they were situational enough to be good in specific circumstances, but they are not in others. So I think that's oftentimes quite nice, but especially in these AAAnd mirror matches, most of these removals are super efficient, since they are just very cheap and they hit basically everything in the mirror matchup. And interestingly enough, that there was one of the AAAnds that played big removal in the Hunger, just discarding everything. That is quite fun. We didn't get to see it this time. But yeah, I think that there were a bunch of different removal options we saw. There were license withdrawals, there were evanescences, there were off you goes, beauty sleeps, banishing gates even. One of Blizzard for one of the AAAnds. So yeah, a ton of removals, and it's definitely hard with a low character count to play into that. And I think, have we ever seen 3 characters in play for one player at the same time?
That's a good question. I mean, there was like one time, but it's like, yeah. I mean, if you're going to be into that itchy potato, you like an advice to play around. I just like open it a random game, just like to have the board, just like to see. And I think like the best around for play is like always. How do I play around? It's actually a good question. I'm just like playing and then I don't get hit. I mean, I still get hit, but you can sometimes try to figure out. You always need to know. It's like every time if you start to playing out the character and your opponent start to play a removal, it's always also just like a lag of like a character that your opponent can play. And characters especially are like super important in Altered, because outside of that, you're not being able to progress like on any board. So I feel like the best advice to play around is like, if you know, okay, you're playing against like a really heavily like deck that you know is running at least like a tons of removals, and also being able to return back to the hand, being able to getting thrown out easier than on the other decks, then my first suggestion, or just like my first thing that I'm always doing, is just like to start to focus like on run expedition. And then to see like, okay, I know like the chances are like especially like against, for example, against Afanas is like, I'm seeing like, okay, I play against Afanas. He didn't play like any removals, so I know at least he will get to have like 2 or 3 removals in game. And so I will start to focus on like playing out like on run expedition. Either also just like to see if I can put out those removals from my opponent's hand and not losing too much from myself. So especially most removals beside like, for example, the license withdrawal or the duels of crit. Like, oh, actually it was good to take out the Kojo. In the rare version that's like directly discarding or some like other spells, is always like the case that most removals just like putting your characters down to reserve. So maybe also make sure to play around with that you always need to consider, okay, I'm playing like right now, I could see here, I'm playing my oldest trooper. Now, okay, the Afiko or like anything else could hit, going to reserve, play it out again. But going like directly into the deep topic to how to play around removals, I mean, this would be like stuff for like hours.
You also kind of picked an easy matchup, right? When you're playing Sigisma, you just pretend removals don't exist and win anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're playing something like especially Muna, or also probably like Varu, or from Potato's perspective,
I mean, besides
it's getting a lot harder to play around removals.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I feel like for Muna, for example, this was a mix of Varu and Manu. Play another hero. No, actually, it just like also depends on your decks. I mean, it was good to actually put Sigisma as example. So against Sigisma, you can't play any removals because easy. So no, but actually, true. If you're playing like Muna or something else like that, I mean, Muna can potentially prevent it if you have like, for example, the Spindle Muna Bastion going to be in play, but the chances that you always have them on the correct time is like super hard. But then it's also just like coming to the same fact to just like play around. I mean, if you start to always put out your free-cost card at the beginning or just like stuff like that, and then you're easily being able as your opponent to just like remove one card, and then you as a player for yourself can't play anything, then yeah, GG, I guess so, right? But I think it's like a topic that we could like, maybe we can think like, yeah.
I think there's the key thing I would pay attention to is that in Altered, most removal cards have a restriction.
Yeah.
There are exceptions to this, but they mostly cost 4+ mana, and those are a bit dubious, because it does not feel good to play a 4+ cost removal card. So most cards that we'll see play that are removal have specific restrictions, and when you're building your deck, you can think about what are the meta removals that see play, and what characters can I play that dodge these removal options. And yeah, that is probably the best way to quote-unquote play around removal, is in the deck construction part of the game. Outside of that, you are probably looking at trying to navigate effects of cards more so than their stats, right? The easiest example there would be something like Sakurabru. If I do Eat Me Energy Bar plus Sakurabru, I don't really care if there's removal because both of those cards already did their job, right? So think about non-stat ways of playing the game, or if you're going to play stat, think about how you can get around restrictions, pretty much. Is my main advice on dodging removals.
Retired champ, you have any advices?
Yeah, I would say, in addition to, you know, play a faction that plays well into removal, no, I would say there's also a dynamic outside of, like, knowing the removal restrictions. It's also, like, find either a way to after you as many times as possible with your deck, to really prevent that. So, for example, the Fen strategy, of course.
That's let's just play Feather Aphanos.
Yeah, just play Feather Aphanos or Sigismar.
Well, that's what I was getting to. You either after you to make removal really poor to play because it's just cards that rot in their hand with no targets, and then you commit to the board later on, or you play something that doesn't care about removal. Either exactly what Freeloader was saying, like you getting your effects down from things like when you play them from hand, that you no longer care if it gets removed, the damage is done, or just playing things that you don't really mind if your opponent tries to remove. Even if that's, like, for example, in Tasia, your Spindle Harvesters for 1 mana, like, that might be a must remove for your opponent, but that's such a negative trade for them in terms of mana, that can give you some incremental advantage.
So the conclusion is play Sigismar or Thanos, right?
Fen or
Thanos,
Kojo, but a little less so.
Yeah, so guys, with any other deck you're cooked, basically? No.
I actually, you know, it's specifically this card, License Withdrawal. I would love to talk about License Withdrawal.
Yeah.
I think this is the single best card from the new set, honestly, in both of the factions that it was printed into. At Common, Sigismar, and virtually every Ordis deck, I can't imagine there's an Ordis deck that isn't playing it as at least a 2 of at this point. I think they're just strictly wrong if they're not. That card on its own deals with every problem thing that Sigismar's or other Ordis decks would ever run into realistically. Whether that's characters that go significantly over the top of them and then sit there with Anchored, for example. Virtually any of those characters get a boost at some point and then can get shot down immediately by License Withdrawal. And then other potential win cons, you know, like your Hydracanas, your Random Lyra Festivals, your Brassbug Hives even. Those also get shot down. Aphanos, really similar. It does cost them a rare slot, but for just 2 mana, being able to take down permanently any character or permanent like that, like previously, you know, the Tasia versus Aphanos matchup was pretty horrible for Tasia, but the one redeeming thing was that they could get some synergy off of playing the Spindle Muna Bastion, but at this point, there's just good removal that can take that down too. And that just unlocks the rest of the Aphanos game plan perpetually. It's so strong. That removal effect specifically, pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's really warping the meta all around it, I think. Yep. And it's also the fact that specifically in the previous set, I think Ordis and Ysmir, specifically Sigismar and Aphanos, both shared the weakness of not really having an answer to permanence. and now they have arguably the best answer to permanence out of nowhere. So their biggest weakness of the decks that were already really, really strong turned into the deck that is now, or the decks that are now arguably least susceptible to these permanent types, and that is a big swing. So definitely a huge upgrade for both of those decks. Yeah, I completely agree.
If that card does ever get suspended, the big upside about it is we get to talk about the license withdrawal, so that's going to be fun.
Do you feel it was a crime that the license withdrawal was like an out affection card for Izmir?
Look, Equinox is saying they want there to be 2 best decks, maybe a third, but that's okay.
Sure. I mean,
that's okay.
I mean, I'm always saying, guys, I don't want to be that guy. But I don't want to say that the meta is boring right now. I would never say that.
It's not.
But it's not. But I just want to add that maybe it's actually funny that all of the decks that are being not Afanas or Sigismar or Kojo. I can also add Kojo on that. I'm allowed to add Kojo on that? I'm not sure, because Kojo is super cool. Even with 2 hero uniques.
Kojo is strong. Kojo is really good.
Yeah.
Kojo is really good.
What I want to say, always if we're seeing some other decks, or mostly seeing some other decks popping off, especially on those World Championship qualifiers, it was always just some other decks, but still those decks were only super cool playable if you had the super duper expensive, or it was super duper expensive uniques, because you're not being able to buy those uniques anymore. Just the best example is insane. I don't want to know how much he spent for his uniques. And the duck is telling me I should stop to play the meta. So we can enjoy the meta on round 5. So
yeah,
guys,
I think Freeloader.
Yeah.
I think we are forced legally to go to table 2 because we haven't seen either of these players today, and we've seen all of our other top tables players play at least once.
Yep, I completely agree.
Sweet.
And honestly, Victor Moda, always a nice one to be watching as well.
Yeah.
It is going to be a matchup we haven't seen yet today, and honestly, I think we've been dodging these heroes, not that much, but a little bit. It is going to be a Kojo versus Sigismar matchup. And Kojo going first makes Sigismar look weak. So what are you doing with your little 1/1/1? I got a 2/2/2 over here.
Yeah, except, we've heard you. I don't believe you for a second, Freeloader, because we've heard your Kojo versus Sigismar hero ability rant already. But regardless, Victor Moda 94, absolutely one of the most talented Brazilian players from Team After You, going up against Thaco from Team Kraken Play. This one should be a really good one, and we're already off to a blistering start, I would say. Sigismar taking a double advance day 1. Kojo doing a good job of setting up some value, though, here. They get their own advance thanks to that Buddha token, but they do have a Haven Bravos Bastion out. How are you feeling about this Tomoe Gozen hanging out in reserve now for the Kojo?
I mean, that's going to be awkward for a little while here. It is a common, so it will need 7 or more mana orbs to play. With no Tinygen in sight at the moment, that would be another, 2 or 3 turns at least from now. And that's going to be awkward because Kojo really likes playing cards out of the reserve and then filling it up again with new cards out of hand. Being unable to do that is going to mean it's likely just going to get discarded at the end of this turn, and that's going to really bite their resources. Now, Sigismar isn't a deck that always punishes that, but it is a bit of an annoying resupply. That being said, it's not a bad card to be running in Kojo, as in the later stage of the game, it is a nice way to deploy a ton of stats on a very card-efficient body.
I'm liking the mess as well. I mean, we do see the late game plan here for Kojo taking shape, but the problem I'm seeing immediately is the amount of pressure they're under so quickly. Kojo, definitely a hero that loves starting out themselves at a blistering pace, taking those early double advances, and then taking the time to set up the mess and the haven, for example, when they're already able to ride it out and potentially just win on one expedition while playing those permanents. But realistically, if they're able to stabilize a little bit, these cards are ones that can give them some good value in the late game and potentially go over the Sigismar. Just Sigismar so far doing a really good job on resources themselves. They're taking these expedition progressions as cheaply as possible.
Yeah, and they are really punishing the plays here. I mean, Haven is not going to get a single oh my god, they're not going to get a single proc off from the Haven since it's been played so far, and they might not even get one this turn either if they have no resupply effect, which I really doubt they have, because Kojo doesn't have a lot of it. They'd need to be like Daedalus in hand if they want to make use of it this turn already. And same with Mess, it's not going to give them a benefit this turn yet. And next turn, you know, with how Sigismar is just double advancing, there might not be much of a late game for the Kojo to have an advantage in. And that is quite worrying for them.
I like this card at least, the Mighty Djinn here. That does secure the hero side, so that is something. Really sweet unique comes down. It is one that is a token spammer that, I mean, it's pretty absurd. It creates 2 tokens, it draws cards. What more could you want?
Well, it does only draw cards if you already have 4 or more characters, so the ability is a bit at odds with itself, which makes it feel a bit more like a modal card, right? If you're low on cards, you're going to try and draw a card, and otherwise you're going to try and spam tokens to advance, as is the case here. And finally, Kojo has their landmarks active. They have cards in reserve, and they have free counters on their mess. Maybe it's just going to be impossible for Sigismar to advance from this point onwards. Or maybe they have a token spammer in reserve. One of these things is true.
Yeah, at least one of them. We will see. That token spammer is so good that I'm almost wondering if it needs to meet a sabotage right off the bat, but I'm also worried that just playing out a sabotage character from hand might also just be a doomed scenario for Kojo. Unless they're playing Rare Tooth Fairy, which I don't believe is in their list, unless I've missed it, shouldn't be in their list, meaning that that's an incredibly expensive play from hand to take down a card that functionally from reserve will just cost 2 mana. They might have to do it, but I think it's so likely the Sigismar will be able to double advance over that play even. Oh, it's so risky.
Yeah, and after you said all of that, it's also a bit of an issue that the Sigismar is going first. There won't be much of an opportunity to sabotage anything at all if the Sigismar just wants to play out their unique. Of course, then there's the question of removal. Duel of Grit can't hit it yet. Mana Eruption is always very pricey for Kojo to play if there hasn't been any ramp that has occurred yet in the game. And then a card like Intimidate, you really typically want to avoid using on uniques this powerful. So a bit limited on the options there, but we will see how it goes. The unique does get played out, immediate pressure applied. What is the response here?
Yeah, I mean, nice Hua Mulan unique. It's a pretty sweet one. It does discard a character straight to discard. In this case, doesn't really matter. It would have gone to discard anyway, as it did have Fleeting, the Runescribe at that point. But it isn't one of these ones that can perpetually loop with itself forever, unfortunately, for the Kojo. Or at least it can, you know, keep losing Fleeting, but it won't be able to use that from hand effect again and again. But doesn't really matter. I think they're just trying to survive this day. Duel of Grit, super sweet new removal spell. I mean, heck, we keep talking about removal in all of these decks. It's really good here in Kojo, too. It's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people think Kojo is right up there with Sigismar and Ephamus.
Yeah, Duel of Grit is a huge addition, but wow, the absolute punish from Sigismar here, just double 1 cost. And this has been a really, really fast game.
So we're going to the next game?
It felt like Sigismar had the absolute punish here on every single day. Quite incredible there.
Yeah, Victor Mata out here really embracing the AQZ Blitz tournament format. And yeah, makes that one a nice quick one for us. Jeez, very impressed with that. I mean, doesn't really get more aggressive than that.
Should I?
Yeah, that was
directly go
that
to
was.
table one for you.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
go to table one.
Okay.
Notably, that was 3 double advances and a single advance that happened in that round. So that was it's hard to go faster. It's very hard to go faster. But for now, we are quickly going into game 1, watching Tibuchu again on the Afanas fight into a Sigismar, and this is a tough matchup. Tell us why, Kelonguy.
Yeah, all those cool removal things that we were talking about earlier. If you remember, one of those things that we said is really good against that is giving no good targets. Sigismar is great at giving a bunch of targets that you don't care about getting removed. Playing a little bit of Sigismar as well, there's a couple new cards like Aegis Templar that also play so well with that like after you style strategy that we were mentioning with decks like Afanas and Fen even. But it turns out Sigismar can do some of that. And then with Aegis Templar specifically, there's even some situations where you can just play it into removal, because if your opponent removes it, you just get your token character and it's enough to progress on its own as well. Oh,
Yeah.
so sweet.
Especially into Afanas, who is so low on characters a lot of the time anyway, that they really can just afford to win with a 1/1/1 from Sigismar. It makes it so tough. In this case, very interesting play coming out from Afanas here, sleeping their own unique Spindle. And I think this is a necessary play for them just so they have any kind of cards left to play with next turn, but gets super punished here with that Teamwork training. Yeah, removal, it's not great into Sigismar, but it is really strong into Afanas.
I just
Holy.
moaned in pain because that Spindle Harvester's getting removed there is the death knell for Afanas. Sorry of spoiling the end of this match many, many days before it ends, but it is so hard for Afanas to come back from this position. They are already so far below the Sigismar in terms of card advantage. Yes, the uniques have already been played out by the Sigismar, and no, there won't be much more value they can get out of them, but I mean, I think you need such ridiculously specific cards from the Afanas to have a hope of coming back. It is so difficult to win from this spot. It's almost a thing where the Afanas is almost incentivized to not mana when they're currently at 5 mana. It's so hard.
Yeah, you definitely do want to mana every turn from here on out. But I do think, Afanas is up on Expeditions, and usually that isn't the case in this matchup. Usually Sigismar gets an early lead, and we have a similar kind of battle happening with the removal. In this case, Afanas did block Sigismar very effectively, and in theory, if they have a Conjuring Seal in hand here, they could just play Unique plus Conjuring Seal, let Sigismar double advance, but slowly start building up their own card bank again, picking up that Conjuring Seal again, drawing 2 cards, and having a Spindle Harvester out for next turn as well, assuming there's not another removal spell from Sigismar.
I'm gonna cry.
Of course there is. There's the Tiny Jail. We'll say absolutely farewell to that game plan. And yeah, man, even the spike stat on the unique here on the Monolith Runescribe would actually block a Studious Disciple plus spell advancement. Banishing Gate is forced out, but it's not even to stop an Expedition advancement, it's just to stop the sabotage from this unique happening, or this unique in general from playing. Man, it is a brutal situation for Afanas here. They cannot build up their resource bank here.
Yeah, I mean, that unique as well was so strong here because with the Sigismar being behind on the Tumult, it was just a unique that over multiple days would draw multiple cards and potentially then sabotage one thing on the back half as well. What can you say? I mean, the thing that's so incredible here is the fact that thanks to these uniques largely as well, and the Gift of Self that was played early on, the Sigismar just has so many cards that virtually no matter what Afanas does, they're conceding. They're essentially just passing the turn.
We're having some
feel for them.
brutal undefeated games here. Just a complete rolling Sigismar against Kojo. Here the Sigismar rolls over the Afanas in a bit of a different way, not through double advances, but instead through the power of removal once more.
I mean, I wonder if how the last game is going. Maybe we should jump into that, considering that Tibuchu. Actually, they might have just passed to get back cards, right?
It's theoretically possible. So yeah, let's just see if they pass this deck.
Stick it out. Let's stick it
I
out.
suspect so, but we'll see.
Alright.
Oh, it was accidental.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's doomed.
Alright.
Yeah.
So
none of this
unintentional
came to as
concession
well.
happening there.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, it's so hard. Yeah, not too much to say there. Sigismar is such a good Afanis counter still.
Mhm.
That tiny jail card specifically plays so well into the super sweet Afanis uniques. And yeah, I mean, really reinforces again why those uniques, like the one I was mentioning earlier, that has that conditionless when I leave the reserve, when I leave the expedition zone, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. Why that can be so impactful into this sort of matchup. It at least lets you get back some card advantage whenever your stuff gets removed, which is really nice though. Helps a little bit.
Yeah, and if you can set up the situation correctly and force, make sure that Sigismar doesn't have anything in their reserve, and then give every play they have fleeting, Sigismar can run out of resources as well. So that kind of unique can definitely go a long way.
And
Alright.
into table 3 here, actually we have an Atsadi again. That's really cool.
Table 3, Atsadi undefeated.
Oh, was it table
bracket.
3? Was it table 3? Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
did I just
It
click?
is, it
yeah,
is,
it
it
is.
is,
Okay,
it is.
good. Good. I thought I was losing my mind for just a brief moment. Ooh, Hunger coming out, but at the start of the day, it's so hard. Kesha is already adjacent. Yeah, there can be some complexity with potentially removing this Hunger, but with this amount of mana, I feel like there's a chance of it even getting outstatted.
I have a feeling we're going to see the opposite Hunger come out here just for a swag point win here.
That would be a swag point win. Always important to collect those swag points wherever possible. Oh, it is the category.
It's the category. I mean, surely they can win here still. They could, Winter Nova does it. Double sacrifice and spawn some moths for a clean double advance. That is pretty brutal in this spot. So just spotting the end of the game here. But watching a Kesha go undefeated, that is quite impressive as well. Not always easy to navigate these Akesha lists.
I love to see it, not gonna lie. Love watching decks that are not quite as, I would say, fleshed out in terms of number of players trying to find optimal lists for those decks. Love seeing those players turn them into really impressive finishes and qualifying themselves for the Invitational at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really wonder how many interesting decks we're going to see at the end of it all. I expect it will be like last set, at the end of it, we had some extremely competitive final matches for the final event there. Just because everyone who qualified was such a star player. And I am looking forward to experiencing that again, but also, of course, to see a little bit of spice enter the ranks of the top players there. And, I mean, no matter who won this one, a little bit of spice would have entered. Atsadi or Akesha both are quite unique and cool heroes to see in the metagame go undefeated.
Yeah, totally. Definitely agreed there. Nice to see some spice coming along. But yeah, the opposite of that spice, though, is Paandyandy complaining in the stream chat about how everything will just be Faunus and Sigismar.
Is the game stuck for me, like the Akisha against Atsadi?
The Atsadi just doesn't want to make decisions about which character to sacrifice.
Oh, okay. I mean,
it is over.
They're wailing in pain.
Yep. They've broken their monitor and are, going outside to touch grass, something like that at this point.
all right. I was just like sitting here and was like, okay, when do we change? Okay. So actually, are there like some other games that are going to be on as well?
Yeah, these final matches were quite fast, so there's still
Yeah.
a lot of games ongoing that we could tune into.
We have a game on Oh wait, I missed the table. Oops. You can go to table 13 if you want. There is like Creative Chaos and Natsu Naruto. And I didn't like hear the names. And Akisha 50. Yeah, conquest that. But I will forever still continue complaining about the finest of Sigisma. And I'm allowed to because I'm also playing Sigisma, so. And I'm also playing Afanas, guys, so.
Yeah, but in keeping with the typical Paandyandy way of doing things, you will give up on the deck 3 days later and then switch to a different one yet again and get a new set of uniques for it. So
yeah, I mean,
you never know. You never know.
I need to train, you know. I don't have that much time to play like all those decks how I want to be, so I need to pick up or like switch faster, you know.
Oh my god.
I need to switch like more. No, actually, I'm on the Gorang trip right now. And let's see how it goes on. Yeah, let's see.
Gorang's real fun.
Actually, I love Gorang, actually. I've tried to like early on set free. And it was like super fun. And now I'm being like, hey, actually Gorang is like really good playable. So yeah, I try it out a little bit more. Just like want to figuring out how to play against the Hunger. Because it's like also one of the questions I have right now. Because the Hunger, legit by far, the Hunger is like by far the only card that completely can destroy.
That's why you want Hunger suspended. That makes sense.
Yes, yeah. I mean, why not? Equinox, if you're listening. I've heard the Hunger is OP. No, but do you think there is like a chance for the culture right now, or will teacher just like go home with this?
Straight to the bank for the Tasia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's looking tough. There's not a whole lot of good Kojo one-cost characters outside of Fire Rabbit that play into this hero side. Oh, but instead, actually, the mouse will be played on the companion side. That also makes it very hard. I mean, if Tasia has a play, this is over. And otherwise, it would need to be that rabbit to keep the game alive, but doesn't seem to be the case. So Kojo is cooked.
Yeah. Nice job, creative. That was cool.
Amazing.
Little mouse is a really sweet card to see in general. I don't think we see it all the time from Tasia, but it's I like the design of it. It's super cool and aggressive. Yep.
And so all those games are going to be super duper fast. I feel like the AQZ Blitz did a good impact.
We're creating the new online metagame for your Altered tournament experience. I love it. That's what we do here at the AQZ family.
Yeah, guys, it's like super awesome. But no, actually...
I'm going back into Overloss. Time to see the Gorang versus Traced to close it out.
Yeah, that's good, that's good. Just like looking some spicy Gorang play. Also playing the Isitok. I see, I see. It's like super interesting. Tarantul. Oh. Edge Potato Miles are a Tarantul fan here. Alright. I mean, I've played jungle, so I cannot talk about it. I mean, I can talk a little bit about Tarantul jungle, but I was never ever allowed to play. So I was only allowed to play like tanks most of the time. I just like played tanks in the jungle. That was like different times. So AQZ League Night trend. Yeah, Carl, I actually was asking where we will do the AQZ League Night. It would be super fun to play. I would be super enjoying to play League with you guys.
I got chat restricted for using a naughty word in a private chat.
Oh.
And then I asked support about it, and then they suggested that in order to avoid such suspensions that I use private chat to avoid it. And I'm like, that's what I did. It literally says so in the text. Oh well.
But I feel like, or like the last time I've played League actually was like, it's like over 1.5 years or something like that. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time. when I played League last time. And I think it was just like a TFT match for like when Altered got like on release day. And then we as a group, we always camped like in front of one of the Ravensburger store to getting like some special stuff. And then we always got like a table and seats. And then we played like one round of Commander, played TFT together, ate breakfast with the workers there together. So the store opens around 10 and we were already there around like 5 a.m. or something like that. And just
Nice.
like relaxed because we all most of the time we just like went there because we wanted to celebrate together. And then we always played like TFT and stuff like together. It was like so fun. But after some time we didn't got like any special like stuff anymore. So the meetup we still meet up, but it was like not during the early hours. And oh, the Go Ring, whoo! Oh, for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I apologize to our viewer base right now. We're taking this a little bit casually because we have a much more serious event that we're excited for on the weekend. And hopefully we'll be bringing you a fully Altered theme cast. But until then, yeah, trolling with Trundle. Good times.
Yeah, it's like... And oh, the Dr. Frankenstein is also going to be there, but will it help? Oh no, it's like actually not make any difference, so... Oh man, Overlords, are you going to take the win? I feel like it's being a good spot for Overlords.
I think it's really hard though, because they don't have any setup with permanence right now. Like there's no Masectats out, there's no Ortis carriers, so they're really reliant on every card they play to generate them those tokens instead of that ideal scenario where they're just starting out every day with like 888 in stats or whatever. But some good cards that they have access to. It's a sweet unique right there, that Ortis Overseer.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's an easy end of the game for them by any means.
Right, and I'm super interested. Actually, I'm super excited for the Go Ring because I know that Overlords will play the Go Ring on the qualifiers for Esne. We as a whole local, like all of from our local store, almost, besides like Björn and someone else, are going to drive to Essen actually. So we've planned to doing a trip there before I was like going to cast there, and I'm super excited for that. How all of them went. We also have like one Saturday before that to just like look, just like to play a little bit more and just like to learn a little bit more. So I'm actually see how Dresden will go on Esne. Björn said we don't have high chance. Björn said it. Björn said it. He said like, guys, according to like the online tournaments, we don't have like high chance, and I was like, no. Hold on. And oh, another conscription. I'm telling you, Overlords is getting that game. Overlords is getting it. I have a feeling.
Paandy, how many rounds do you know how many rounds the Liiike event is on the weekend before the cut to top 32?
8 rounds.
8 rounds, got it.
It should be 8 rounds, if I'm correct.
Okay.
The problem is right now, it was also like an issue that people talked about the Lily Road qualifier. That, oh, actually, there, oh no, this was just like guidelines. That like everything was on French, and now they're working on it to actually translate it to English. So shout out to MC Bird, because without him, no one will actually mention it. So it's like super cool. And then I can tell you, but I feel like it was 8 rounds, yeah, and then the top cut was on top 16, I think. Was it?
No, it's 32. It's
32.
top
oh yeah,
32
it's like over
and
yeah.
best of 3.
Best
and
of 3.
I think we all suspect that it's 11 rounds and not 8 rounds. But
yeah, it
could be wrong there.
Could be also 11 rounds. I mean, it's starting at 9, and then it's going to 6, like PM. It could be also 11 rounds. Yes.
It's gonna be a fun time. Lots of Altered here this weekend.
tournament.
And we'll be here the entire time, so
Yeah.
you can feel free to spend your weekend with us. We're happy to have you here at twitch.tv/Paandyandy.
Yeah, so that would be a super fun and exciting tournament, and we're getting like so many cool people here, not only the people that you saw today on the cast, as well as Chili were joining us, as well as Karabi were joining us, and also I felt like Kretz, the guy behind the Spaghetti Alts, also want to join in on Sunday, and I'm super excited for that. So let's see when he will have time to just like join in the stream. And maybe we're getting some interview guests. Maybe someone wants to join for an interview. I'm not sure. I've heard that actually we can stress out Loki Dogs, that he maybe wants to join the stream. So let's see if this working out. I would be super happy.
That'd be fun. We can ask him all of our edgiest questions.
Yes, all of our edgiest questions. I mean, what would be your first question that came in mind if you could ask?
I would ask him his favorite way of dealing with balance whiners in the official Discord server, of course.
Okay. Okay.
But of course, I'll say balanced whiners like Paandyandy in the official Discord
Hold on,
server.
I never write something in the official Discord. I'm just like spitting out facts.
No,
okay?
I agree.
Yeah?
I agree. You're not writing in the official server,
Yeah.
but you are a balance whiner. I'm just saying, people like you who happen to be in the official server.
Is it like? Oh wait.
Got him.
Got him.
Wait, hold on, guys. So let me explain. So, first of all, I have reasons for that. And you know I'm correct. So, you see? Something else to add? Something else to add?
You're funny, Paandy.
Oh my goodness, Captain Ray just did a mic drop.
Oh, man.
Landmarks. Bro is complaining, but he dropped his unique that draw 2 cards the last round. Ay. But yeah, guys, it feels like it's actually being the last round in general for the tournament, or is there like another games going on? I don't feel so. So yeah, it's actually the last round. No, there's like another table also playing still. It's La True Hell. But with that, I thought that actually Goreng takes the game. I was believing for Goreng, but it's not like that, right? So do about during the end on live stream. But if you want honest, Liiike is the one to do it, and don't worry, we're friendly.
We're always brand friendly, right, Paandy?
Did we Did we ever do something that was not brand friendly? I don't remember. So. Do you remember something, guys? Do you remember something?
No.
And if I did remember something, I promptly removed it from my brain so that when you asked me this question, I couldn't find any examples.
You see, guys.
So, there you go. That's what you pay me the big bucks for over here. Thanks, boss.
Thanks, boss. Yeah.
Right. When this boss thing started, okay?
Boss has a sports car now.
Hey, I mean, it was like a good investment. I'm not joking around. But actually, also a good investment is to be taking a look into the results for our AQZ Championshipseries Week 4, because it was indeed the last game. And do you want to announce the winners and also all that finished 5-1? Keenan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Our winners are the players who went 5-0 today. I'll get to them after the 4-1s. We had 16th going from 16th up to 4th place.
Yeah.
We had first Geek on Nord with that 4-1.
Yeah.
Followed by Smats, Mkareth, Psycho244, KNP, Roms, Mianhe, Fulzokwa, Altered Aces Bajulian, with It's Rinku from AQZ, KMP's Halford, KMP's Tibuchu. Wow, impressive performance from KMP today.
Ooh.
HAT's Moosey Wallace. I know that's one of the top players actually from AQZ's leaderboards, so impressive to see that they're still kicking it. KMP's Thaco, then being the last 4-1, and then our 3 5-0 qualified for the invitational players. We have Cabinato, ATP's Rico Fenwick, and After You's Victor Mata 94. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, really good job, guys. It was super amazing to watch. And the final was like Cabinato was on Akisha, right? And Rick Overwick and Victor Mata both went on Sigismar.
Yes, indeed.
So that's why I'm still allowed to say Sigismar is OP. And what is the invitational, Cabisona? So if you're being able to finish the tournament with 5 firms, 0 loss, so aka undefeated, you're going to get automatically invited to our final series. That will be also just like on a usual Thursday. It's been like the last week actually for our tournament series, like the last week before like the new set is coming to in. And with that, you're also just like being able to play against all the other players that went undefeated. And the coolest thing about it, there's like a lot of prizes. There's also a special prize that I did not announce yet, but I will announce afterwards, because someone hit me up and said like, hey, Paandy, if you want to do, I have something really special that you could take out. So this is something that you can win on those final series. So cool that you qualified for that, and I'm still hoping you play. So usually for our tournament there will be the boss battle today, but the boss battle needs to getting declined sadly, because my partner is going to be sick, and somehow I feel also my stomach is hurting a lot. And during the tournament I spent a lot of time with my phone on the toilet, basically, guys, I'm honest. So instead of the boss battle winner is getting a booster, I will just like randomly giving out 2 boosters to all participants. Yeah, I will do it like that. I think it's fair, right? Just like 2 boosters.
Nice little raffle.
Yeah,
fair, you know.
we're doing a raffle, so I'm super sorry. But yeah, will be a super long weekend, so I don't want to be also sick as well during the weekend, because then it will be not so much fun for me. But beside that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you so much for being here on stream. I hope it was just like amazing to watch here, to even it's like still super hot out, I would say, like in the most areas of the world. And thank you so much, Keelan, Freeloader, and Rune, for joining in again on the stream. It was super amazing that the old squad is back at full. And yeah, I feel... Did you have something else to announce besides the fact that we're also going to cast the Liiike World Championship qualifiers here on the channel? It seems not. Okay.
Freeloader, talk about your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel, guys. Freeloader has a YouTube channel, so check that out.
Yeah, working on a little bit of content there. If you're a Subhash fan, Subhash video just dropped like a week ago, and I have an exciting video coming up as well, so check it out when it hits.
I'm not getting hostage for that video, no.
No.
Guys, just like saying that, I just like put, wait, hold on. I'm sorry, Freeloader, I just like double advertise myself. But you're already like so famous, you're already like so famous. So let's go. Still waiting for the tier list video. Oh. What
do you mean? The tier list videos are out.
Yeah, you see? So, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have like a super cool evening and also a super whole rest week, and hopefully see all of you on the weekend for the World Championship qualifiers. So, bye-bye.
Bye.
Farewell, everyone.